I welcome you in the quiet that settles after a long day. My voice comes slow and steady. It seeks to be a gentle companion. I invite honesty. Bring whatever is true in your heart. Leave performance at the door. This is a place for rest, not for proving anything. A lamp glows somewhere to the side. It casts a warm circle on the page and on the hands that hold the book. Outside, the world breathes soft. The house gives a small creak. These sounds are ordinary and safe. Let them be part of the evening. They tell us that life continues, even when we stop for a while. Tonight I read from the Bible before you fall asleep. The words arrive without hurry. I let them settle into the room. They do not demand answers. They offer company. Mercy whispers through them. Hope comes as a steady pulse. That is all I promise to bring, if you like. Arrange your space now. Ease your shoulders down. Fold your hands where they rest easiest. Close your eyes, if that helps. Keep them open if that feels better. Shift, so the body finds a comfortable line. A blanket can be draped over the feet. A pillow can rise a little higher. The posture is simple. Comfort is the aim. Breathe slowly. Inhale to a gentle count. Hold the breath for the smallest pause. Exhale, and let some worry go. Again, the breath is a friend that returns with no judgment. Notice how the chest rises and falls. Hear the quiet between heartbeats. I listen with you. This shared breathing makes the room steady. There is no need to tidy every thought before we begin. Thoughts arrive like birds at a feeder. Some stay. Some fly off. Let them visit. Watch them without chasing. If a worry insists on staying, place it on the table beside you. Promise to look at it tomorrow. For now, we make room for rest and grace. You do not have to explain your day to me. You do not have to list every mistake or every small triumph. Bring only what feels present. Bring the tiredness, the questions, the small joys. Bring them all as they are. The words I read will meet you there. They do not require perfect answers. They meet human hearts where they already sit. I speak slowly so the meaning leaves space. Each sentence rests between beats. The cadence is deliberate. I pause when a line asks for breathing time. These pauses are part of the reading. They let the phrase sink in. They let a single image glow for a few breaths. When the passage asks for thinking, I wait. When it asks for silence, I keep quiet. I choose passages that cradle the spirit. They are simple and sure. They do not complicate. They do not push logic. They open a hand and offer mercy. They remind that hope can be patient and small. They remind that care often speaks in soft tones. Tonight, the aim is assurance. Assurance that you are seen. Assurance that love is steady, even when life feels uneven. Assurance that mercy is not a rare gift tied to achievement. Mercy comes in the ordinary air of every night. Hope lives in small moments. Like the steady return of breath. I do not press heavy doctrine here. I do not set a debate or demand a verdict. What I offer is a calm listening. I read so your heart may practice being heard. I read so your mind may welcome rest. The Bible is an old friend for nights like this. It knows the language of quiet, of loss, of waiting. It knows how to speak grace into small rooms. As I read, imagine a light at the edge of the room. It is gentle. It does not glare. It does not try to fix everything at once. It simply keeps you company. Let that image sit near your shoulder. Let it be a quiet presence that marks the space as safe. Safety does not erase trouble. It holds it lightly and keeps room for sleeping. You may have a tiredness that roots deep in the body. You may carry an ache the mind cannot name. Let the words touch that place without rushing to cure. Words are not always medicine that takes effect at once. Sometimes they are like warm water poured slowly over a bruise. The warmth helps. It does not remove the mark in a single night, yet it changes sensation. It soothes. If tears come, allow them. They are a soft kind of rain. They cleanse without making anything lesser. If a smile enters quietly, welcome it. Small gladness is a faithful guest. Both tears and smiles are honest signs of being alive. They show that the heart is moving. I will sometimes pause between readings. Those pauses are not empty. They are for listening. You may hear the small thump of the radiator. You may hear your own breath. You may notice a thought that wants attention. That is okay. Let the thought sit, then let it go. The silence returns and takes you with it. Sleep is not a goal to force. It is an unfolding. The night opens like a hand that waits for sleep to settle in the palm. I read not to hurry that process. I read to make the hand warm and gentle. If sleep comes early, leave the book open and allow the voice to trail off into quiet. If sleep comes late, stay present without impatience. Sometimes the mind will bring lists. Tomorrow's tasks will parade through. Let them pass along the edges of awareness. Remind them that tonight is for rest. Tell them there will be time at sunrise. This is a moment of grace tucked into the day. It does not waste time. It returns energy for what comes next. I bring no pressure to fix faith in a single night. Faith can be a long and patient thing. It grows like a root, slow under the soil. The words here are like small rains. They feed. They do not demand immediate bloom. If hope feels faint, let it be thin for a while. Thin hope can grow thick with steady water. Mercy is a quiet promise here. It is not loud. It does not parade. Mercy sits like a warm shawl around the shoulders of the weary. It covers mistakes with understanding. It does not erase memory. It offers space to breathe between the past and the next day. Rest lives where mercy dwells. If questions arise about fairness or loss, place them beside the lamp. They will not be forgotten. They will be listened to. For this hour, however, we choose rest over wrestling. This is a time for gentle assurance. The large questions can wait until your mind has rest enough to hold them without ache. You may wish to whisper a simple phrase to yourself between passages, something like, "You are here," or "Be still," or "I am held." Keep it brief. Use it as a soft anchor when attention drifts. An anchor does not fix the whole ocean. It steadies the small part of you that wants to rest. I invite small acts of gratitude. If they arise naturally, name one small good thing from the day. It could be a cup of tea, a call that made you laugh, a quiet walk. These small acknowledgments do not deny hardship. They sit beside it. They remind the heart that light comes in many sizes. As the night goes on, I will close the reading with a short moment of quiet. I will not press the mind to do more than listen. The silence that follows will be a soft place to lay the day. If you choose to sleep then, let the last sound be the slow settling of breath. If you stay awake, keep the silence like a steady lamp beside the bed. This hour is not about proving faith or polishing virtue. It is about rest, about mercy, about hope that does not insist on loud signs. It is about bedtime companionship. It is about the comfort of an old book, read gently in a warm room. Now settle into your space. Let the body find that place between wakefulness and sleep. Allow the room to feel like a soft harbor. Keep the lamp low. Let the breath slow. When you are ready, I open the Bible and begin to read. The first words come like rain on a roof. Listen with the heart more than the head. Let the voice be a small ship that carries you into rest. I invite you now to shape a small shelter for the night. I speak softly, and the room listens. My words help you arrange the space, so rest can come easier. This is not ceremony. It is a gentle ordering of things that makes room for calm. First, find the place that feels most restful. It might be the bed. It might be a chair by the window. It might be a spot on the couch where the blanket folds, just so. Choose where the body wants to soften. Let the eyes rest on one surface. Do not let the gaze bounce between too many things. A single, quiet view helps the mind slow. Light the room with care. A lamp that throws a warm circle is enough. If a candle feels safe, set it where it will not be disturbed. Watch how soft light smooths the edges of the day. Avoid harsh overhead bulbs. Dimness does not hide. It makes space for the small details to be seen with gentleness. A nightlight in the hall can keep the world feeling steady without brightening the room. Bring in a texture that welcomes the body. Fold a blanket over the knees. Place a pillow so the head can rest without strain. Let the feet be covered, or free them, whichever comforts more. Clothing should be loose and kind against the skin. Unfasten, tight sleeves. Let hems fall where they please. Small adjustments speak loudly to the nervous system. They say it is safe to unfurl. Choose one scent. If you like, a trace of lavender, a hint of chamomile, the soft remain of a warmed blanket. These are gentle companions. Do not overwhelm the air. A single scent, quiet and familiar, becomes an anchor. If scents bother the throat or press the chest, set them aside. Plain air is often the most faithful friend. Sound matters in small ways. The house hushes after a long day. If outside noise intrudes, consider a steady hum, a slow fan. The low white noise of a distant radio tuned to nothing loud. A single, even sound helps attention settle. If music comes, let it be slow and low. Avoid songs that tug at memory too sharply. Let melodies be like distant Hades, not waves that wash the shore. Place a small object near your hand. It can be a smooth stone, a gros, a worn book, a photograph of a place that felt like grace. This object is a signpost. When thoughts drift into lists and plans, return to the object for a moment. Feel its weight. Notice its edges. Let this act bring the mind back without scolding. Set devices aside. Turn them face down. Switch off the bright screens. If silence from devices feels too abrupt, place them in another room. Creating a boundary is not a refusal of the world. It is a promise to the night that asks for space to breathe. A small sign on the nightstand can mark this boundary, an intention written on a scrap of paper. A soft knot of string. Ritual does not need words. It needs only an action that says, "Tonight is different. I read to you from the Bible before sleep. I place the book where it is easy to reach. The cover may be worn. The pages may show the hands that have held it before. Let the book sit like a steady companion. When the voice reads, the book is not a lecture. It is a friend who knows the language of rest. Make a small place for worry, not to drown them, but to name them without carrying them through the whole night. A bowl on the bedside table will do. When an anxious thought insists on staying, let the mind move it. As if setting down a pebble in that bowl, the action is small, the gesture matters. Promise the thought attention tomorrow. Then place the pebble in the bowl and return to the breath. If some small light of gratitude rises, let it be welcomed. Name one simple thing from the day that felt kind. It might be a cup of warm tea, a brief smile from a stranger, the quiet of a parked car. Do not pressure the heart to list many things. One small thankful note can be enough to give the mind a kinder lens for the night. Temperature finds its own voice. Adjust the covers so the skin finds a pleasant warmth. Sometimes a cool room invites sleep more easily. Sometimes a warmer nest heals the chill of the day. Trust the body's sense. The night will cradle where the temperature feels honest. Invite a short moment of stillness before the reading begins. Close the eyes if that feels safe. Allow the breath to be slow. Count silently to 4 as you draw air in. Hold a breath for a natural pause. Exhale for a count of 6. The longer soft exhale speaks rest to the nervous system. Repeat this gentle rhythm 3 times. Each breath loosens the shoulders. Each breath lets the jaw soften. If a short phrase helps the attention anchor, use one that sits lightly. Say it in thought. Not like a command. Let the phrase be a guide. Not a test. Simple words that speak to presence work well. They remind the mind it has a place here where things can quiet. Keep the phrase small. Keep it kind. Light a brief moment of intention. The intention does not need to be large. It can be this: to rest, to be held, to listen. Setting an intention is not demanding a result. It is noting a direction. The act of intention gently organizes the mind like a small compass pointing toward mercy. Notice the hands. Rest them where they feel least busy. Some lay them on the belly to feel the breath. Some fold them across the chest as if receiving a small place to be kept. Others let them fall at the sides. Whatever posture the hands choose, let it invite stillness. A resting hand is a kind hand. If eyes open to stare at the ceiling, let them find a corner or a shadow to settle on. Do not chase away the images that come. Let them pass like clouds. If a persistent picture returns, breathe into it, and let the image soften at the edges. Often, the mind needs only a patient attention to loosen its hold. Light can be used as a meditation. If a candle is present, watch the flame with a soft gaze. Trace the small motion. Notice its steadiness despite the tiny flickers. If the flame worries, close the eyes and imagine the same light at the edge of the room. Soft and protective. Keep the imagination simple. It is a gentle lamp that does not have to explain itself. For those who wish, prepare a very small reading ritual. Turn the pages gently. Let the hands pause on a page that speaks quietly. Do not demand a long passage. 10 sentences can be more nourishing than many without attention. The book does not measure rest by length. The book measures rest by presence. Avoid turning this time into performance. The sacred space is not judged by how many items are arranged or how perfectly the blanket folds. The heart of the practice is simple. Create a place where rest has permission to arrive. Permission is the key. Without it, the body resists. With it, the heart opens like a window. I stay quiet while you settle. My role is small. I arrange words that help the room feel safe. I place the Bible near in the way. A friend sets a coat on a spare chair. I do not force the wind of faith through the window. I invite a breeze to move the curtains and call the mind toward ease. When the space feels like a shelter, breathe into that feeling. Let the small comfort sit close. Notice how the quiet becomes more solid with each breath. If sleep comes while the room is still being arranged, let it come. If it does not, that is also all right. The space still holds you. Before I begin to read, take one last look at the small order you have made. Check that the light is gentle. Check that the blanket covers what needs covering. Check that the phone is not singing. Settle the bowl of worries and the object of comfort within reach. Place the book where the hand can find it, as if by instinct. I will read soon. The voice will be slow. The words will be simple. They will lean toward mercy. They will not demand answers. They will offer company. This space you have made is a small harbor for that company. When you are ready, rest into it. Allow the room to hold the day, so sleep can find its way. I sit with the book on my lap. The lamp throws a soft circle across the page. The room breathes with a quiet that feels large. I read a line from the psalm that asks for stillness. The request is simple. It asks us to stop long enough to know who is near. I slow my voice now. Each word I speak leaves space after it. The silence holds the words. The silence becomes part of the sentence. That is the point. Stillness is not empty. It is a way to notice presence. We do not need to understand everything to be still. We do not need answers tonight. We simply rest in the fact that someone steadier than our thoughts is watching over the small pieces of life. Imagine a hand at the edge of the bed. It is not tight. It does not force. It only stays. That is what sovereignty can feel like in the dark. It feels like steady care. Let the body find a deeper ease. Let the jaw soften. Let the shoulders drop another half-inch. Allow the breath to find a slow rhythm without trying to make it so. When the mind presses with plans or with what-if questions, let those thoughts stand in a doorway and wait. Tell them there will be time in the morning. For now, the room holds a different kind of work. The work here is simply to be held. I say the words slowly. The psalm invites knowing, not study. Knowing is not a list of facts. It is a small recognition that the heart can rest. It is like recognizing a friend in a crowded place and breathing a little lighter. When stillness comes, the recognition can be quiet and sure. Listen to the house, the little hum of the heater. À 10 quart, these sounds are ordinary. They remind us that this world keeps moving while this particular moment gathers calm. The presence that watches over life does not take the world away. It enters the ordinary and makes it a place to rest. Sometimes the idea of God's rule can feel heavy. It can sound like a weight above the head. Tonight, try a different picture. Think of a lighthouse by a slow shore. The light stands steady through weather. It does not chase the ship. It only makes a safe line to follow. In stillness, we see that line. We breathe with the rhythm of that steady light. If a memory rises like a small wave, do not push it under. Let it roll in and out like tide. Let it be welcomed. Then let it leave. Being still does not erase pain. It gives pain space to be without needing to solve itself every moment. Mercy settles into that space. Mercy is patient. It sits beside the ache and keeps company. I turn a page slowly. The words I read are not arranged to fix all questions. They are like soft steps leading into quiet. They remind the heart that not all control rests in its hands. Some things can be placed into a larger care. To place things down is not a failure. It is an honest act. It is the action of trusting the shelter that is present. Try this with one small worry. Picture it as an object in your hands. It can be a pebble or a folded note. Imagine placing it on the bedside table. Feel the release in that small gesture. You do not abandon responsibility. You simply set something down for a while. Doing this in the mind helps the body accept rest. The Psalm's invitation to know God asks for attention that is gentle. It is not a spotlight that interrogates. It is a lamp that warms without demanding. Let the attention be like that lamp. Notice what is true without judgment. Notice the pulse at the wrist. Notice the temperature at the cheek. These small observations are ways of keeping the mind soft enough to receive solace. If quiet brings questions about fairness or change, allow them without trying to answer them now. Stillness can hold the questions. It can make room for them so they do not thrash at the edges of sleep. The presence we acknowledge is large enough for doubt as well as for calm. Doubt does not disqualify the heart from care. It often becomes a way the heart learns to speak its need. I breathe with you in these moments, not to command, but to accompany. The rhythm of the breath is a small metronome that keeps time with surrender. When attention flutters, return to that rhythm. Count softly in the head if it helps. 4 in, a Pause. 6 out. The longer exhale says to the nervous system that rest is allowed. Sovereignty is a word that points to safety. In soft language it says, "This there is someone who sees the whole pattern, while the hands attend the small stitches." The presence holds both. That thought can be tender. It can be like a blanket folded across the knees. It covers what chills, and it does not smother the movements beneath. As I read, imagine light at the edge of the room, not a bright glare. A gentle glow. That glow does not hurry the night along. It only keeps a warm edge to the dark. Let this glow be something you return to when thoughts pull like tide. It is a place of rest, within reach. Hold to a single phrase in the mind if it helps. It can be a few words from the psalm paraphrased into a whisper. Be still and know. Say it slowly. Say it without force. Let those words be a small hook that catches wandering thoughts and brings them back to calm. The phrase is a shepherd of attention. It guides without punishment. If tears come, let them fall without shame. Tears are honest. They are a quiet language the heart uses when words fall short. If a soft smile appears, receive it. The small joys of the day do not cancel the hard parts. They simply sit beside them, like flowers on a windowsill. Both can be true at once. I keep the reading slow because the night asks for slowness. Rapid speech makes the mind leap. Slow speech invites the bones to settle. The waiting between lines matters. The space between syllables becomes an open place to breathe. This is how the psalm asks to be received in the space where knowing grows like a seed in dark soil. Think of your life as a room with windows. The windows have curtains. During the day, the curtains pull wide. They let in light and sound and task. At night, the curtains draw. The drawing is not closing off. It is preparation for rest. Being still now is like drawing the curtains with intention. It is not hiding. It is choosing sleep as a responsibility to the body and the spirit. If sleep does not come quickly, the stillness still does good. The body is listening even when the mind stays awake. The presence that surrounds does not keep score of how fast the eyes fall closed. It simply stays, patient and constant. That steadiness is a balm. It is the kind of mercy that is faithful over time. I will pause reading now to let the words sit. The silence between readings is as important as the lines themselves. In the silence, notice how the steady presence feels nearer. It is not a pressure. It is an invitation. It suggests that life can be held even when it is messy or uncertain. When ready, imagine offering one small thing to the care that watches. It can be a tired thought, a thin hope, a request for a restful night. Say it in the mind and then let it rest. Doing this is a gentle form of trust. It does not demand immediate change. It simply places one small piece of the day into another hand. I keep the book close. I keep the lamp low. I keep my voice like a slow tide that comes and goes. The rest I aim for is not escape. It is an act of receiving. The presence that the psalm points toward is not distant lore. It is a nearness that steadies the heart. In stillness, we learn that this nearness is enough to begin again in the morning. Now breathe and rest into what is true at this time. Let the quiet do its work. Let the steady care take the small things for a while. I will read again when it feels right. For now, let the night be a patient companion. Let the presence be a soft place to lie down. The pause that follows is not empty. It is full of waiting, mercy, and quiet hope. I tell an anonymous story now. It comes from a long evening when sleep keeps slipping away. The person in the story is not named. Their life is ordinary in most visible ways. The tiredness, however, sits like a familiar coat. It never quite fits right. They live in a small apartment above a slow street. The windows look onto the same neighbor's maple every year. Nights arrive, and the mind fills with the day's loose ends. Tasks replay. Old missteps press their edges into fresh worry. Efforts to fix everything before bed only move rest further out of reach. This person tries remedies. Warm tea becomes a little ritual. A walk through quiet blocks helps some nights. Soft music soothes for a while. None of these things solve the deeper unrest. It persists, a low hum under every attempt to sleep. One winter evening, the restlessness is sharp. Work has been long. A difficult conversation stays like an unfinished letter. The hands fidget with the edge of a blanket, as if smoothing a crease that will not unmake itself. Exhaustion presses into the bones, and yet the eyes stay open. The mind offers a list of tomorrow's corrections, as though the night must be earned by doing. On this night, the person does something small and odd. They open a book that has belonged to someone in their family. The cover is soft. The pages smell faintly of previous rooms and steady hands. The person turns a page and finds a short passage that asks for stillness. It is not an argument. It is a gentle suggestion to be quiet long enough to know something steady is near. Hearing those lines in the head changes the rhythm. The mind does not immediately yield, but the body listens. The person places a pebble on the bedside table. The pebble is ordinary and warm from being in a pocket. It becomes a marker. Each time a worry insists on occupying the night, the pebble moves from hand to table. The act is small. The motion is deliberate. It does not erase the worry. It names it and sets it down. Over several nights, this practice continues. The pebble becomes a habit. The person does not force sleep. Instead, they give the mind a small task to set down what it cannot carry well into the dark. This smallness matters. The night accepts a pebble more readily than it accepts a heavy satchel of unfinishedness. Another change happens without plan. The person begins to listen to a voice that reads quietly before bed. The voice is slow and steady. It does not press for answers. It keeps a calm center. Lines from the Bible come as pieces of a larger, gently language. They arrive like soft rain on a roof. The person listens. The listening is not performance. It is a giving over of attention to a tone that does not demand much, and therefore can be trusted. Slow reading becomes the background of a nightly routine. The voice does not explain everything. It does not argue. It simply sits beside the tiredness. The presence felt by the listener is not glaring or sudden. It is like a lamp placed near the bedside. the kind that steadies a room without illuminating every corner. The person's breath shifts in response. The shoulders unclench a fraction. The jaw loosens a touch. These small changes do not announce themselves as victory. They are quiet signs of a body remembering how to rest. The person learns a new posture toward hope. The hope is not loud. It is a small, persistent expectation that care might be true even when circumstances do not change quickly. The change here is subtle. It is not that all problems vanish. They remain in the margin, but their edges soften. Mercy, which once felt like a high concept, becomes practical. It looks like a lamp left on, a book opened, a pebble set down. It looks like being allowed to be worn and still kept. One night, a memory of a long-felt shame returns. It arrives like a hard stone in the chest. The old habit is to push it down and task oneself into the next project. Instead, the person sits with the feeling and thinks of the steady voice that had read the short line about stillness. The person does not rehearse answers. They place the pebble where it belongs and let the memory sit without trying to bury it. The simple act of witnessing the feeling is different from trying to fix it. It does not make the memory disappear, but it changes its tone. The memory becomes less like an accusation and more like something that can be acknowledged without being commanded. Slowly, nights begin to fold differently. Worry does not always win the first hour. Sometimes the body yields to rest first. Sometimes sleep arrives in fits, short naps of mercy between times of wakefulness. The person learns to accept these partial rests without deeming them failure. The very acceptance eases the strain. What seems like a small gain proves large over weeks. The nervous system learns that nights can be safe again. The person keeps a gentle practice of small gratitude. Not a billowing list, but a single small acknowledgement each night. A warm cup, a safe street, a brief kind word in the midday bustle. These small notings do not erase sorrow. They place light beside it, like a candle on a windowsill. The presence that accompanies the reading, a steady tone that does not complain or celebrate loudly, becomes a witness to both sorrow and light. Sometimes the person sits with questions about fairness. The questions are sharp and persistent. Night stills bring them, wanting to be heard. The reading does not counter those questions with quick answers. It offers the patient assurance that suffering and love sometimes coexist. That assurance often arrives not as proof, but as a steady posture into which the person can lay their burdens for a while. The night, then, becomes a place where the weight is shared, not carried alone. Change arrives in tiny increments. The person notices mornings when the chest is not as tight. Work feels less like a battlefield and more like a place where effort is engaged and then released. Relationships do not transform overnight, but patience grows. Small mercies appear in the day, a neighbor's small courtesy, a moment of laughter that is not forced, a meal that brings warmth without expectation. Sleep patterns do not become perfect. There are still nights of sharp wakefulness, yet those nights no longer feel like a verdict. They are only nights. The person has learned that the steady presence does not abandon overnight because the eyes open in the dark. The presence is quietly faithful through wakefulness as well as through sleep. That constancy becomes a new kind of anchor. The person begins to carry a simpler faith into daytime. It is not loud. It is not showy. It expresses itself in small acts, turning away from compulsive scrolling at night, setting the phone in another room, choosing one small kindness rather than a long performance of virtue. The smallness of these choices matters. They ground the long view without trying to speed it. One evening, the person reaches for the pebble and pauses. The pebble is smooth now from the habitual fingers. The person notices how the hand moves without urgency. There is a soft, steady confidence in the motion that was not there before. The presence that was read about in the old pages feels close in an ordinary way. It is like a neighbor who has visited often enough to be trusted. This trust is not a final arrival. It is the beginning of a different rhythm. Nights are still nights, with their ordinary aches and questions. But the person now has small practices that meet the night without hostility. The lamp is low. The book is near. The pebble rests on the bedside table like a gentle promise. The heart learns to be held in a softer way. I end this part of the story with a quiet scene. The lamp glows slightly. The book closes for a moment. Not to be gone, but to rest until the next reading. The pebble sits still. The person breathes slower. There is no fanfare, no soothing cure, only a steady, patient change that comes from being allowed to be tender at night. Mercy, in that hush, feels practical. Hope, in that hush, becomes enough to do tomorrow's small good. I keep reading in this room. I keep that steady voice for anyone who listens. Tonight, the lamp is still low. The book waits. The pebble sits on the table like a small witness. If the person stirs in the dark, the presence is there. If sleep comes, it comes without pressure. This is how the restless begin again, one small rest at a time. The story ends here for now, with a soft promise that the night will keep what it has been given until morning wakes the room again. The lamp stays low. The page lies open. My voice moves slowly across the room. Tonight I turn to a line that asks the tired to come close. It offers an invitation without demand. It asks for a step toward rest. I do not read the words as a law. I read them as an offered hand. The hand does not push. It holds a small space where burdens can be set down. The invitation is simple. It names weariness and then offers rest. That is the heart of it. I tell the story in the plainest way I can. Imagine carrying a pack that grows heavier with each day. It is full of small things, undone tasks, sharp words, longings, shame, a list of shoulds, the straps cut into the shoulders. The walk becomes harder. The night offers no easy stopping place. The invite I read tonight asks you to bring that pack to a gentler presence and to set it down. I guide the breath as we do this. Breathe in slowly for 4 counts. Hold the breath for a quiet moment. Exhale for 6 counts. Letting the shoulders fall as the air leaves. Repeat 3 times. Each long exhale is a little unfastening. The body learns how to loosen. The invitation is not a demand for immediate change. It is not a test of worth. It is a permission. The permission says, you do not have to carry everything alone. You do not have to fix the night by long planning. Rest is offered without strings. I suggest a small exercise. Place your hands where they rest with least effort. If a pebble sits nearby, pick it up. If not, imagine a pebble or a small cloth bundle. Let the weight in the hand represent one particular worry. Choose a single item. It might be a tense conversation, a worry about health, a fear of tomorrow. Do not choose all of them at once. One will do. Hold the chosen burden in the mind as if it were a pebble. Feel its edges. Name it softly in thought. Now picture a presence near the bed. It is steady and calm. It does not stare. It does not lecture. It simply stands with open hands. Walk toward that presence in the imagination and lay the pebble down. When the pebble meets the surface, notice the relief that follows. It may be small. It may be subtle. It may be a single softer breath or a tiny unclenching of the jaw. This small release is the beginning of a new posture toward the night. It is not a final answer. It is an act of trust. If prayer helps, speak a gentle line in the mind. Something like here. Take this for now. Say it once. Say it without drama. The prayer is not a petition for proof. It is an offered exchange, a handing over of what is too heavy tonight. The hand that receives does not keep score. It accepts what is given. I read that the invitation includes rest for the soul. Notice the difference between a short sleep and a rest that settles into bones. Soul rest is not always sleep at first. It is a quieting of the internal argument. It is a sense that one does not have to win an invisible contest tonight. That sense can arrive as a warmth at the sternum or a steadying in the hand. Watch for those small signs. Prayer becomes a slow practice here. It does not have to be long. It does not need words that are sharp or clever. A single whispered phrase in the head can be enough. Keep the phrase small. Keep it honest. The practice is more about posture than about rhetoric. It trains attention away from the list and toward presence. I encourage a soft imagining of presence as companion rather than judge. Picture the presence like a bench by a quiet garden. You can set your pack on the bench. The bench is not a judgment. It is a support. To sit alongside it is not to confess failure. It is to accept care for a while. In that garden, the night is allowed to soften. The invitation also speaks of learning to carry less. The straps of the pack are not meant to be permanent. They can be loosened. Items can be removed. One by one, some things will return to be addressed in daylight. Others can be left for a longer season. The night is not a workshop for fixing everything. It is a harbor for what must pause. When I read these lines, a mercy shows itself not as an explanation, but as an action. Mercy sits beside the body. Mercy touches the temple with a slow, light hand. Mercy does not demand a full accounting of failure. It receives the confessed weight gently and offers warmth. If doubt comes, address it with the same gentleness. Doubt often sneaks in with questions about worth or about whether rest is deserved. Answer doubt not with arguments, but with small proofs. Notice a breath that came easier after letting one burden go. Note the night sound that is not as harsh. These small proofs are not final, but they are enough to keep trust alive. I read slowly, because speed makes the mind guard itself. Slow words let the edges of tension soften. Slow words give the nervous system time to notice that the world is not asking for a final solution this hour. The present is only a small room in a long life. In that room, rest can begin. If sleep resists even after the pebble is set down, do not see it as failure. Rest can be partial. The presence that receives the burden is still at work, even when the eyes remain open. Mercy does its tending without immediate fireworks. Often hours later, the effect shows itself in lighter mornings or in quieter reactions to the small tasks of the day. I invite a tiny liturgy for those who find ritual comforting. Fold the hands once. Place the palm over the heart. Breathe in. Breathe out. Offer the single burden by name in the mind. Imagine it passing into hands that are steady and warm. Let the hands on the heart feel the return of a calmer beat. This small liturgy is not formal. It is a way of telling the body that this burden is not required to sleep well tonight. The invitation always includes an assurance you are not alone. The night can feel like a wide space where loneliness grows. Here the voice reminds that a presence stands nearby, not as an abstract idea, but as company that has helped others in the same trouble. That company is quiet. It keeps a steady rhythm. It is patient through wakefulness as much as through closed eyes. I note how prayer and presence move together. Prayer is the act of giving. Presence is the act of receiving. One cannot be truly prayer without the presence that listens. Likewise, presence without the offering is only a lamp that shines on a closed hand. The two belong together. The practice of small offerings and quiet receiving becomes a nightly exchange. If the mind pulls to the future, do the pebble exercise again with a single item. If the mind clings to a memory, set it down. If the chest feels tight, return to the long exhale and feel the shoulders drop. These repeated small actions are not dramatic. They are trust-building work that does not rush. I will read this invitation again in a few moments. For now, rest with the idea that carrying everything alone was never the only option. Lay down one small piece. See how the night receives it. See how the body answers with a softer breath. The lamp still glows. The pebble may be warm in your hand or resting on the table. The book is open and patient. Let the mind try one small release. Let the presence be the bench for a single burden. Tonight, practice the tiny act of handing something over. Let it sink into the quiet. When the moment is ready, close the eyes or let them drift to a shadow. Breathe once more, long and slow. Notice the smallness of the change. Notice the calm that arrives bit by bit. I will keep reading. A steady voice in the room. The invitation remains come. If you are weary, bring one burden and leave it for the night. The presence will hold what is given. Rest will come in its own time. The ending of this part is gentle and intentional. The night has work to do now, and mercy will keep watch until morning. The room stays quiet. I sit with the page open. My voice has slowed further. Tonight I ask for a gentle look back over the day. This is not an inventory. It is a soft noticing. Begin where it feels easiest. Do not force a full list. Let 1 hour come into view. It might be the first cup of morning, a meeting in the noon, the slow walk home. Let the memory be small and particular. Ask, what did that hour feel like in the body? What color did it have in the mind? I invite a 5-breath pause. Breathe in slowly. Hold a beat. Breathe out. And let the shoulders loosen. Again. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. On the last exhale, imagine the day unfolding like a thin ribbon on a table. No need to rewind it fully. Just watch one small piece of it move under the light. Name one simple thing that brought ease. It could be a quiet tea, a brief smile, a song overheard on the street. Say the small thing inside the mind. Let it stand without explanation. Notice where gratitude rests in the chest. Keep this noticing short. A single moment of thanks is enough to change the way the night receives the day. Now notice one small difficulty. It may be a clipped word, a missed text, a task left half done. Bring it into view without argument. Do not try to solve it now. Let it be an object placed on a tray. The act of noticing does not mean the problem grows larger. Often the simple act of seeing a trouble calms the heated edges of it. Pay attention to the feeling that comes with the memory. Is the breath quick? Is the jaw tight? Is there a coldness across the shoulders? Name the sensation gently. Naming is not blame. It is a neutral recognition that lets the body know it is understood. If the memory carries shame or regret, do not let it become a retrial. Offer it a soft word. Inwardly say, this was real. This was hard. This happened. You are still here. The night is not a place for proving worth. It is a place for receiving care, even when imperfect choices were made. Turn the memory of good and the memory of friction into small offerings. Imagine placing them into an open hand that does not demand explanation. Lay down the bright moment. Lay down the heavy one. The hand takes both. The act is a tiny exchange. It is not a final judgment. It is a way to stop carrying every detail into the dark, if it helps. Anchor memories to senses. Recall a taste, a sound, a touche. Where did the feet rest during the day? What did the air feel like on the face? Sensory detail keeps reflection from becoming a replay of thoughts. It grounds the memory in the body so the mind can soften. Allow a brief moment for forgiveness, not as a lecture to self, but as a small permission to be gentle. Forgiveness here is a simple unfastening, accepting that not everything was handled well, and that the next day can hold repair. No big speeches, no long confessions, just unclenching the fist a little, so blood can move again. Remember someone who crossed the path today. It may be a neighbor, a colleague, a passerby. Hold their face in mind. For one slow breath, offer them a quiet wish of well-being. This is not about making amends before bed. It is about recognizing the small web that touched the hours and releasing the tiny threads that pull tight when left unchecked. If engelingers Name it plainly. Let the label be short anger, disappointment, fear. Place the label gently on the feeling. Labels do not fix things immediately. They provide a space that is not wild. Once named, the feeling often becomes less likely to keep the night awake. Do not try to solve relationships or large problems in this moment. The aim is rest, not revision. Yet the act of looking can guide tomorrow's first steps. If the mind insists on plans, tuck them into a little notebook or a mental drawer. Promise the plans a time in the day tomorrow. This small promise keeps the brain from turning the night into a planning meeting. Consider one small mercy that came today. Even if it was hidden under difficulty, mercy might be a quiet tolerance from someone. A small grace in a rushed hour. A pause that allowed breathing room. Notice it and let it sit like a small stone on the palm. These stones are not trophies. They are witnesses that care happened among the mess. If the day felt thin of mercy, that too is important to name. Speak it inwardly. Mercy felt scarce. Notice the tone of that observation. Acknowledge it without turning it into a verdict about worth. The night can hold the ache of a mercy felt missing, as gently as it holds a joy. When a fear about tomorrow arrives, welcome it into the same reflective posture. Give it a breath-long place at the table. Ask what is the smallest next step I can take in daylight, if no step is available now. Place the worry into a box marked morning and set it on the shelf. Promise to open that box at a chosen time. This small ritual prevents endless nocturnal rehearsals. Remember to include small delights. They do not cancel pain. They make the night less heavy. A single act of pleasure, an unexpected laugh, a pet's soft head. A well-made cup becomes a thin light that helps the brain accept rest. If the day held intense grief, do not force an upbeat mirror image. Sit with the grief as you would with a weathered object. Let it be there without needing to be transformed tonight. The reading of Scripture offers a companion for such nights. It does not argue the pain away. It brings a steady presence that allows tears to move. Allow the tears if they come. They often arrive like rain that cleanses the air. Shift attention now to the body. Scan from the crown of the head to the soles of the feet. Notice where tension remains. Breathe toward that place. Imagine the breath is a warm, soft cloth. Lay it over the tight spot and let it rest. Do not hurry the release. Some stiffness needs time. The breath keeps patient company. If sleep would be slow tonight, consider a short, practical plan for light activity when wakefulness arrives. A simple stretch, a sip of water, a whispered phrase of hope. Planning light action removes the pressure from the night to produce answers. It reassures the mind that a sequence exists beyond this hour. Offer one small thank you for the day, not the least. Just one line. It might be thank you for the safe walk home, or thank you for a warm meal. Speak the sentence quietly in the head. Let it end the review on a gentle note. As the reflection closes, imagine a soft cloak being drawn over the day. The cloak does not hide anything. It simply keeps the day contained. For now, the cloak tells the mind morning will come, and with it, light for new work. Until then, rest is allowed If the habit is to replay and fixate, notice that pattern kindly and do a short reframe. Rather than interrogating the whole day, change one question. What did I learn that might help me be kinder tomorrow? Keep the answer small and practical. A single shift is more effective than a long list. When repentance or apology seems needed, decide on one small step to take tomorrow. A brief message, a short visit, an honest sentence, setting an actionable, gentle Intention defense rumination. It offers the mind a way forward instead of looping in the dark. Now place whatever has been named into the quiet of the room. No dramatic gesture necessary. A slow breath can act as the bridge between thought and rest. Breathe in, hold, breathe out, and let the day fold away like a map put into a pocket. I close this part with a simple assurance. The reviewing of a day is not a final judgment. It is a careful keeping. Mercy is present in the small acts of noticing. Hope is present in the promise of a new morning. The night is not an ending that consumes the day. It is a place that holds what was and allows the new day to begin. Rest now into that holding. Let the small things sink. Let the body listen. I will read again soon. For now, let the night keep the day gently. The pause that follows is a careful, full silence meant to hold what we have just named until morning opens the room again. I pick up the book again. The lamp gives a steady pool of light. Hands rest on the cover. The room leans into a gentle hush. Tonight I speak about grace for imperfections. Grace is not a big speech. It is a soft hand on a shoulder. It arrives without a hurry. The words I read remind us that grace is enough. Strength comes in the small places where we feel weak. Imagine a cracked cup. The crack is not hidden. It shows where the cup has held too much or fallen too often. The cup still holds tea. The crack changes the sound when it is set down. It also makes the cup honest. In this story of the night, the cup becomes a friend. It does not pretend to be whole. It is cared for as it is. I read a line from the letters that has comforted many. It tells us that power is made perfect in weakness. That sentence is not a puzzle to solve tonight. It is an invitation. It asks the tired to notice how strength sometimes grows out of small breaks. Weakness is not only failure. It can be a place where the heart becomes open enough to receive help. When the shoulders drop a little, there is room for another hand. The night often brings such moments. The long lists and the sharp regrets press in. When the body finally loosens, grace can come close. If this evening keeps a tightness, do this slowly. Put one hand on the chest. Feel the small rise and fall. Speak a short, quiet thought in the mind. Grace is enough. Say it once. Say it without proof. Let it sit like a warm stone in the palm. The stone does not have to explain the whole shore. It only rests. There is a tenderness in receiving mercy for what we are not. Perfection is a hard light. It casts long shadows. Grace prefers a smaller lamp. That lamp shows the edges without demanding a flawless surface. It holds the stains and the scratches and the parts that need fixing later. For now, it offers warmth. Think of a vine growing through a crack in a wall. The crack is not a fault alone. It becomes a path for life. In weakness, some small growth can begin. This does not mean the hurt is beautiful by itself. It simply means that weakness is a place where care can enter. The presence we read about is the gardener who tends the vine. The gardener does not scold the wall. He waters the sprout. Forgiveness and rest sit close together in the night. When mercy meets error, it does not erase memory. It rearranges the heart's stance toward that memory. The memory stays. Its weight often lightens. Small relief comes where the mind had braced itself for endless reproof. Mercy breaks the loop with a quiet act of acceptance. There is a story in the memory of many a person who tries to keep everything in hand. The hands clench keys, schedulers, apologies, explanations. The night asks those hands to open, not as failure, but as relief. To open is to let the burden fall into safe palms. The action is not abandonment. It is a shift of trust. Tonight, place one small imperfection on the bedside table. Name it in the mind with a single word. Shame, mistake, regret. Let the name be brief. Then imagine handing it to the presence you trust. Picture the hand receiving it as gentle and steady. Feel how the shoulders soften by a fraction. That softening is real work. It is the beginning of rest. The passage I read earlier reminds readers that weakness is not the end of the story. It is the point where greater strength often appears. Consider a lantern carried by someone who stumbles on path. The stumble does not make the lantern less useful. It makes the carrier more careful. The light remains. Sometimes the stumble teaches a new kind of carefulness. That is a small hope. Do not mistake this for a promise that all problems vanish. The night does not cure every trouble, yet mercy often changes the tone of the heart. It makes room for repair without urgency. It lets the body stop trying to fix everything at once. One night at a time, another day at a time. The work continues with steadier hands. If you carried harsh words today, set them down for a moment. If you made a mistake that keeps replaying, give it a space to rest. The reading that accompanies this room does not need a perfect answer in return. It accepts the broken parts and keeps company. That company is a form of grace. There is a quiet paradox here that the soft voice of the letters likes to use. The paradox says that when strength is lacking, something stronger can come in. It is not a boast. It is a small rearrangement of reliance. A person who admits they cannot do everything becomes more open to receiving help. That openness is itself a kind of strength. Practice a tiny exercise to feel this truth. Close the eyes gently. Breathe in to a slow count of 4. Hold a moment. Let the breath leave the body in a long, easy out. As the breath goes, imagine a small weight sliding off a shoulder. Picture that weight landing on a cushion of light. It rests there. The body notices the release. Rest does not require an all or nothing faith. It begins with one small letting go. The Bible phrase that speaks of grace enough is like a soft lamp on a dark road. It does not erase the night. It shows a step. With a single step, Walking can continue. The step does not demand a final answer to every question. It simply asks for trust that the light will be there for the next footfall. If shame insists on staying, treat it like a weathered coat. The coat can be taken off and folded without pretending the cold never came. Folding is a small act of order. It is not denial. It is care. Mercy arranges the coat and places it where it can be looked at with a kinder eye tomorrow. That small arrangement is practical grace. Sometimes weakness speaks in physical ways. The muscles tighten. Sleep is hard. The mind replays worst possibilities. In those hours, grace often shows as a permission to rest imperfectly, partial sleep, short naps between wakefulness, a slow letting of tension. These are all forms of mercy working on the body. Accept them without shame. Remember that grace is not a reward for effort. It is a gift given at the edges of ability. It arrives not after success, but often in the middle of failure. In that sense, it is a neighbor who brings a blanket and sits down. The neighbor does not lecture about earlier choices. The neighbor offers warmth. When the heart believes it must always perform, the night becomes anxious. Performance works against rest. The reading tonight is a model of another way. It reads not to produce a score, but to offer company. It models acceptance rather than pressure. Learning this tone matters. It changes the way the mind meets the dark. If the impulse is to try to earn rest by planning or apologizing in the night, make a small practice instead. Write one sentence on a card. Promise to look at it in the morning. Then close the card. The night is not broken by intention. It is preserved. The resting mind does not abandon responsibility. It preserves energy to act kindly and well in daylight. Grace also teaches patience with time. Healing rarely obeys a hurry. It often moves in thin increments that are easy to miss. The steady practice of placing one small imperfection on the table, of breathing, of returning to the lamp, these small acts multiply. Over weeks they become new patterns that change how the day is met. I read these sentiments slowly. Each sentence pauses long enough to be felt. Pause now and listen to the small house noises. They are part of the evening's mercy. They remind that life keeps doing ordinary things. The grace present in the room is ordinary too. It is practical and quiet. If tears come, allow them without panic. Tears are part of the body's work of change. They often mark the moment grace begins to enter. If a smile slips in, accept it as a gentle companion to the tears. Both are signs of a heart changing shape. Now imagine placing one more small thing into the receiving hand of mercy, a thin hope for tomorrow. It does not need a plan. It needs only a soft wish. Bring it close. Let it rest alongside the other items laid down. Together they make a small pile of trust. I close this part with a quiet invitation. Lay down one imperfection tonight. Do it with no drama. Place it on the bedside table or in the mind. Breathe. Notice the release. Let the rest take over. Imperfectly. Gently. I will read again soon. For now, let grace do its simple work while the room grows still and sleep finds its way. The lamp still glows. I sit with the book in my lap. My voice is slow. My hands rest on the page. Tonight, I offer a quiet visualization. It is meant to hold a hard thing with gentleness. It is meant to help forgive and to accept forgiveness in return. Begin with a breath. Inhale slowly for 4 counts. Hold the breath for a soft beat. Exhale long for 6 counts. Let the shoulders ease. Let the jaws soften. Keep the breathing steady. Each exhale loosens what grips the chest. I ask the room to be a small harbor. Imagine a bench by a sheltered garden. The bench feels solid under you. The air is mild. A lamp throws a low circle of light over the seat. The world beyond the garden is present, but distant. This is a place made for gentle work. Bring to mind a single face, not the whole story, just one person who caused pain. The image can be clear or blurred. It can be near or far. Let only what is needed appear. If naming the face feels too sharp, imagine a silhouette instead. Keep the details small. The mind holds what it is able to bear. Notice what arises when the image comes. Tightness in the throat, heat behind the eyes, a cold place at the ribs. Allow those sensations to be seen. Do not judge them. Watch them as a kind observer. Naming the feeling helps it move from a wild tide to a manageable river. In the other hand, hold the pebble you used before. Feel its weight. Feel its edges. Let the pebble stand for the hurt. Think of the pebble as a single burden that carries the memory of that pain. It is not all the burdens. It is one burden that can be set down tonight. Now imagine a pair of steady hands open near the bench. These hands are warm and patient. They do not lecture. They do not hurry. They only receive. I describe Christ's hands here, not in argument, but as the kindest image I know of steady mercy. The hands invite the pebble. Walk slowly toward them and lay the pebble in their palms. When the pebble rests there, notice the change in the body. A small shift often follows this act. The shoulders may ease a fraction. A deeper breath may arrive. This is not proof of a healed heart. It is evidence that something small has moved. Movement matters. It allows the night to do its work. If the image of the person who caused pain brings shame or anger that wants to be thrown back, let that feeling be named first. Say quietly in thought one word that fits anger. Hurt. Betrayal. Name it without sermon. After the naming, place that word gently on the pebble before you hand it over. The pebble then carries both the memory and the named feeling into the receiving hands. I guide you to imagine the hands respond with a light touch to the pebble. The touch is not a quick fix. It is a careful acceptance. In that acceptance, a small warming happens. Light moves into the bench's circle. The light is not glaring. It is a soft wash that reaches the place where the pebble lay. Let the color be whatever feels like mercy for you: pale gold, soft blue, warm amber. The color means only comfort. If a voice of protest rises, how could I give this away? It asks, listen to it without argument. That voice often protects what it thinks would be lost. For tonight, Simply acknowledge the protest. Then return the attention to the hands and the pebble. Trust that placing one thing into kinder hands does not mean erasing truth. It means choosing a different holder for the weight. Now widen the imagination a little. See the person who caused pain from a distance, not to excuse what they did, but to place them within the larger story of human brokenness. Everyone carries jagged pieces. Some throw them, some tighten around them. This image does not absolve wrong. It invites compassion for the one who harmed and safety for the one who was hurt. If accepting forgiveness yourself is part of this night, picture that same pair of hands turning the pebble gently and offering it back in a different form. The pebble sometimes returns as a small, smooth stone or as a folded cloth. The transformation is not magical. It is symbolic of being seen and accepted, even in the places that feel scarred. Receive that offered shape in your hand. Let it rest against your palm. Receiving forgiveness can feel strange at first. It may raise suspicion. It may provoke a thought that I do not deserve this. If that thought comes, treat it like a cloud passing. Watch it. Do not give it the entire sky. Let the offered stone or cloth sit in the hand nonetheless. Accepting is not immediate trust. It is the beginning of a new posture toward oneself and toward God's kindness. Forgiveness toward another sometimes needs a clear boundary as well. Picture a ribbon stretched lightly between the bench and the path beyond the garden. The ribbon marks safe distance. It does not mean hostility. It means protection, while mercy does its long work. Release and distance can live side by side in a wise heart. Let the ribbon be present if it helps. If forgiving feels impossible, try a smaller task. Instead of full forgiveness, imagine saying in the head, I will not let this hurt control my night. This smaller vow protects rest without demanding an emotional repair that is not ready. Place that vow on the bench beside the pebble. Let it be a companion to the hand that rests in the garden. I often read a short passage from the Bible before sleep. The lines I choose do not demand that all is settled now. They invite the soul to enter a larger story of mercy. Think of those words as part of the light by the bench. They do not explain everything. They only remind that a patient, steady care holds what is given. Invite now a subtle practice of blessing. It can be simply a wish of well-being, offered silently. May you find peace. May you be healed. Do not make it a forced kindness. Keep it brief and honest. Blessing does not require approval of the harm. It simply releases a part of the hold the hurt has. It is a tiny act of freedom. Forgiving often includes forgiving oneself. Bring to mind the small ways you have contributed to the hurt. Name one thing softly. Place it on a second pebble. Lay that pebble too in the receiving hands. Watch as both pebbles rest in the palms of mercy. Notice the breathing that follows. The breath may come a bit deeper. The chest may unknot a little. If tears come, accept them. Tears are a language of letting go. They indicate movement. If no tears come, do not force them. Movement is not measured only by tears. Sometimes, a quiet shift in the jaw or a softened gaze is enough. Mercy works in many tiny ways. Hold the following image for a few breaths. A light wind lifts the ribbon and sends it dancing. The pebbles remain on the bench. held gently. The garden smells mild. The lamp keeps its low glow. The night accepts the handing and receiving. It does not demand faster change. It keeps watch. When ready, imagine taking a last look at the scene. The hands keep the pebbles. The person who caused pain walks slowly away on the path, still visible, but not holding the center. You rise from the bench with a soft, steady step. Feel the ground under your feet. Bring the transformed stone or cloth into your pocket as a gentle reminder that something was placed into mercy tonight. Return now to the breath. Inhale softly. Hold. Exhale long. Repeat twice. Let the body notice the new ease. The shift may be small. That is all that is required. The night will work on the rest. Before I close this part, I offer a quiet assurance rooted in the pages I read. Mercy is near. It holds mistakes, hurts, and the messy places of living. The promise is not an immediate cure. It is an invitation to trust that care will keep doing its steady work. For tonight, let that be enough. I will read a few lines from the Bible now. Slowly, as a companion to the image you have held. The words do not demand a response. They sit beside the visualization, like a warm cup. Listen with the heart. Let the lamp glow stay gentle. Place the pebble, if it helps, on the bedside table. Rest into the long exhale. The visualization ends with a deliberate pause. Hold the quiet for 3 breaths. Feel your hands where they rest. Feel the soft weight in the pocket. If you chose to keep the transformed stone, know that mercy accompanies the slow return to sleep. When sleep comes, let it find you without pressure. If wakefulness returns, the garden will be there again. The bench is steady. The lamp waits. The hands that received the burden will still be kind. Tonight, forgiveness begins with one small act. Let the night hold it until morning opens the room again. I close the book for a moment, not to leave, but to keep the room calm. The lamp remains low. The voice grows softer. Rest now into what has been placed down. Mercy watches. Hope waits. The ending of this part is gentle and intentional. The night keeps what it has been given until dawn. I tell a small parable now. I keep my voice low. The lamp throws a pool of light across the page. The story is plain. It is not clever. It is a small picture meant to settle the heart. I live in a village that sits by a slow river. The path to the river is simple. The houses lean with age. The weathered wood smells faintly of rain. People keep to small routines. Bread is broken on porches. Small repairs gather in hands. Life moves in little beats. Easy and steady. One autumn, a storm breaks the river's bank. Water kisses the garden walls. It lifts things it should not lift. A boat from upstream slides free and finds itself against my fence. The boat is simple and low. It carries a thin smell of wood smoke. Inside, there is a small bundle of cloth and a pair of oil-stained gloves. The gloves belong to someone nearby. I know the shape of the river hands in this place. At dawn, I set the boat back where it belongs. The gloves I keep for a few days. They sit on the windowsill. I mean to return them. The days gather small tasks, and the gloves stay. The owner comes by often at market. We pass one another on the path. I think of returning them. The thought sits like a coin under the tongue. It is there but not spoken. A week later, an argument starts between neighbors about a fence. The fence is the thin barrier between two small gardens. The line on a map becomes a loud thing. Voices rise, and quick hands make decisions. I am near enough to hear. In the heat of that moment, someone points out that my fence shows a misstep. It is claimed that I have moved a post an inch too far into another's plot. The claim spreads like a small fire. The men gather. Accusations fall like dry leaves. I stand by the window. My heart hammers. The thought of the gloves sits in the chest like a pebble. In the crowd, the owner of the gloves speaks sharp words. The gloves are brought up not as a kindness, but as proof of carelessness. I hear my name in their tone. The pebble in the chest becomes heavier. The complaint grows like a storm again. I do not follow the shouting. I do not raise my voice. The sound of it makes the room close in. I feel small and raw. Old embarrassments prickle. New shame presses like damp cloth. I want to explain. I want to fold the evidence neatly and hand it back. Yet my hands remain empty. That night I sit with the Bible in my lap. I read slow lines about mercy and about gates that open. I do not demand a sudden answer from the pages. I let the phrases move over the tense places. Quiet comes like slow rain. Sleep will not land, yet. But rest leans nearer. On the next morning, I walk to the river with a loaf wrapped in cloth. I carry the loaf for no reason grander than a habit of giving. The village seems smaller in the soft light. The neighbors talk at the market, and my name still trails in the afternoon air. Yet the loaf in my hands feels like a quiet ballast. I pass the seller of pottery and nod. I pass the baker and accept the small wink that requires no words. At the river, I find the owner of the gloves mending nets. He sits on a low stool. The nets are thin and patient. His hands move in a rhythm that looks like prayer. The gloves rest beside him on the bench. I put the loaf down gently and sit a few steps away. I do not begin with defense. I do not demand my own truth. I simply offer what I have. He looks up after a while. His face is tired. The village weather has learned him. He takes the loaf with a hand that trembles a little. He offers nothing but the bread and a nod. I could speak then. I could say I meant to return his gloves. I could explain how the week gathered and how small intentions slip into long pockets. I could also call attention to the fence and its uneven stake. The old stories of pride and repair line up like soldiers ready. Instead, I do something small and odd. I take the gloves from the bench and place them in his hands. I do not speak of fault. I do not keep the coin of blame in my pocket. The action is simple. It looks like what it is, returning a thing that belongs to another. The gloves are worn. They smell of river mud. They have the shape of hands who have labored much. In the gesture of handing, I let go of the small pebble in my chest. He closes his fingers over the gloves and breathes once. The breath is not a thunderous cry. It is not an acceptance, nor is it immediate forgiveness. It is a single human sound. The net between us continues to dry. The river passes. The moment is small like most changes. I walk away then, I do not demand an apology. I do not wait for a return kindness. The village watches in its way. Some faces soften, some do not. The day moves onward. The bread is eaten later by his household. The gloves are worn again at work the next morning. That is all that happens externally. The shift is quiet. Inside, something else rearranges. The pebble that had been heavy in my chest begins to roll. It finds a softer place. In sleeping hours, my dreams are less jagged. In waking, the shoulders do not brace as much. The heart keeps a quieter rhythm. Forgiveness in one direction opens a small window of air. The cost of remaining right falls away from the shoulders like a loose coat. Weeks later, the fence dispute finds a simple ending. A measurement is made. A neighbor with a straight back adjusts a post. The men who had shouted find ways to complain less loudly. The claimants sit together and share a cup of tea. The thing that was sharp before becomes manageable. No monument is built. No grand reconciliation is announced. A small peace pervades things that used to jab. I come to see a truth in that unremarkable exchange. Forgiveness does not always look like fireworks. Often, it is a loaf on a bench. Often, it is the returning of gloves. Sometimes, grace is only the permission to be small and still. The world does not always repay grand gestures. Sometimes it repays with a slow thaw. The parable is not a recipe for forgetting. It does not require forgetting the wrong. Memory keeps its place. Memory teaches. I still remember the heat of being wrongly accused. I still feel the sting of voices. Memory is not the enemy. It is the teacher that keeps prudence alive. But mercy sits beside memory and says, for now, we will not be ruled by this alone. If he had kept score, if I had hoarded proof, the chest would have become a heavier case. I would have trudged through nights with its weight. The hand that forgives is not a weak hand. It is a steady hand. It chooses rest over perpetual defense. It refuses to let the heart be a battleground each night. The villages continue. People carry their small packs. The river keeps moving. The gloves wear thin and then are patched. A child learns to tie a knot. An old woman tells a small, cutting story and then laughs at herself. Life reassembles itself in the daily way. It always does. The peace that follows the loaf and the returned gloves is not perfect. It is enough. I fold the parable like a cloth and place it beside the Bible. The images remain the river. The bench, the gloves, the loaf, they are simple tools for memory. Each stands for one act that chose trust over contest. I sit with those images a long time before sleep. Tonight, as I read the old words, I let the parable sit beside them. The Bible's phrases and the village image do not argue. They point in parallel. Both say mercy is practical. Both say grace comes in small acts. Both say that peace is often restored not by the loudest victory, but by the quietest letting go. I close this part with a small invitation I carry into the night. If a pebble settles in the chest, if a glove waits on the sill of the heart, consider returning it. Do not perform for an audience. Do not demand a parade. Offer what is yours to offer. Let grace do the seeing. It will not solve everything at once. It will Slowly, return the right shape to the soft places. The lamp is low. The book is warm in my hands. I read one last simple line about mercy and sleep. The night keeps the parable and the words together. They sit like two small lights on a table. The ending is quiet and certain. The room is ready for rest. The story rests until morning moves the river again. The lamp keeps its circle. The book rests where hands can find it. I sit beside the page with a quiet steadiness. My voice is low. The evening is soft. Tonight, I guide a breathing practice that names God's comfort directly. The breath becomes a small bridge. It carries care inward and lets loose what presses on the edges. Settle the shoulders without fuss. Find the place the body naturally rests. If lying down feels right, lie down. If sitting keeps the back calm, sit. Place one hand where it rests easiest. Place the other hand where a soft sense of the chest can be felt. The touch is small. It is a gentle anchor. Begin by noticing the breath as it already is. Do not try to change it yet. Notice where the air arrives. Notice where it leaves. Notice if the belly moves more than the chest or if the reverse is true. This simple noticing is the first step. It tells the nervous system that attention is kind, not critical. I invite a slow, deliberate inhale now. Breathe in, as if the air itself carries a kindness. Picture that kindness as a warm light that gathers at the entrance of the breath. Breathe in for 4 counts. Let the light fill the lungs slowly. Count in your head. Feel the hand on the chest rise with the breath. Hold the breath for 1 small beat. No strain. Only a pause that honors the fullness. In that pause, imagine God's comfort as a steady presence waiting at the center. The image need not be ornate. Let it be a soft warmth, a steady lamp, or a mantle across the shoulders. Keep the picture simple and close. Exhale long and steady for 6 counts. As the air leaves, imagine what needs to go leaving with it. Breathe out the tightness in the shoulders. Breathe out the noisy to-do list. Breathe out the small accusations in the head. Breathe out the harshness that sometimes lives in memory. Let the exhale be a quiet emptying. Count the out-breath to keep it calm and even. Repeat this pattern 3 times slowly. Each cycle is a small act of trust. The breath is a small promise that returns. The body remembers how to soften when given time to do so. With each out-breath, the room seems a fraction more spacious. With each in-breath, the warmth settles deeper into the ribs. Now make the inward breath a little more particular. Breathe in and name one simple, comforting word in the mind. Comfort. Mercy. Near. Do not elaborate. Say the word like a seed placed on a palm. Let it rest there. As the breath fills, imagine the seed opening into a thin warmth that reaches the throat, the chest, the belly. On the out-breath, name one thing you will release for this night. Choose only one. It can be a worry, a regret, a sharp expectation. Keep it small. Speak the name in thought and let it go with the air. The action is symbolic. It trains the body to expect that not everything must be carried until morning. Bring attention now to the shoulders and neck. Breathe in into the shoulders as if the warm light can find the tight spots there. Hold briefly and let the arms drop heavier as you breathe out. Let the jaw loosen. Let the lips separate a touch. A slack jaw often lets the head rest a little easier. These are small clues the body appreciates. Shift the image slightly and imagine God's comfort moving like a gentle tide through the chest. As air arrives, it becomes a pale, steady tide that spreads to each rib. Picture it settling around the heart like a soft cloth. The cloth does not fix everything. It covers and warms. That is enough tonight. If a thought rushes forward plans, lists, resentments, picture that thought as a small leaf on water. Watch it float away with the exhale. Do not chase the leaf. Do not scold it for returning. Just place attention back on the slow arrival of light with the next in-breath. The mind learns this rhythm by practice, not by force. I read quietly from the Bible before sleep. Tonight, I paraphrase a line that reminds the tired to come close and be held. The line is not a duty. It is an invitation. Hear it as a neighbor who knocks gently and says, "If you are weary, come near." Let that message be the shape of this breath. Now use the pebble on the bedside table if one is near, if none is present. Imagine one in the hand. Let the pebble represent a single practical worry that recurs in the night. Hold it for a moment. Feel its weight. Then, as you breathe in God's comfort, imagine the pebble growing lighter. As you breathe out, set the pebble gently on the table and let it stay there. The motion trains the muscles to stop gripping. Extend the practice to another bodily area that often keeps tension. The stomach is a common place. Breathe warm light into the belly. Picture the breath moving like a slow hand across the ribs. Hold the breath for a small beat, and then breathe out the tightness behind the ribs. The exhale becomes a soft untying of knots. If sadness surfaces, let the inhale collect a small gentleness. Imagine the breath as a warm cloth folded over the place that aches. Hold it. Then breathe out whatever judgment accompanies the sadness. The breath becomes an exchange tender in, hard out. Bring to mind now the image of a lamp on the far side of the room. It is a lamp you have known before. When you breathe in, imagine the lamp's warmth settling near the sternum. When you breathe out, imagine a faint shadow stepping away from the lamp. The shadow is not chased. It simply recedes. Mercy remains at the center. I keep the voice slow because speed makes the body tighten. Allow a few cycles at whatever count feels steady. Some nights, the body prefers a longer hold. Others, a softer rhythm. Trust what the breath tells. The count is only a tool. The comfort is the aim. If anger comes, do not force it down violently. Breathe toward the place it sits. Let the inhale be a quiet inspection. The exhale can carry a phrase like this in the mind, "not now." That small limit preserves peace without pretending the anger is wrong. It is simply a visitor that the night will not host indefinitely. After several mindful breaths, imagine God's comfort settling like a cloak around the shoulders. The cloak is neither flashy nor thin. It is sturdy and kindly. It does not erase memory. It offers a warm boundary. Breathe in that boundary Breathe out any compulsion to prove the night that you have it all together. Take one final long inhale now. Deeper than before. Let the breath reach the lowest lungs. Hold it a single beat. Let that breath carry a short intentional phrase be held. When it leaves, make the exhale steady and full, as if closing a small door gently behind a burden. Feel the shoulders drop a degree more. There may still be fragments of thought that want attention. Keep the pebble, the bowl, the bench image close. Return to one gentle breath when the mind wanders. The practice is not a performance. It is a repeated offering. Each return to the breath is an act of mercy toward the self. I read lines from the Bible, not to press theology, but to place a steady companion in the room. The scriptures I choose speak of rest and of being held. They do not promise an instant fix. They promise presence. Let that promise sit beside the lamp as the breathing finishes. Now rest both hands where they feel easiest. Let the breath find its natural pace. Notice the soft hollow of the out-breath. Notice the small rise and fall beneath the palm. Keep attention light. If sleep arrives, let it take the practice as company. If wakefulness remains, the practice can be done again quietly at any hour. Before I close this part, offer one small thought of thanks in the mind. It may be for the breath itself, for the lamp, for a single kind word from the day. Keep it brief. Let it be a small seal on the practice. I will read a short passage from the Bible now. Slowly, as a companion to this breathing. The passage speaks in gentle images and keeps no loud demand. Listen with the chest more than the head. Let the words be a steady presence that matches the breath you have practiced. The room holds the page and the sound. Rest into both. The lamp is low. The book is open. The breath is softer. Mercy moves slowly in the room. The ending of this part is a quiet hand placed lightly on the day. Sleep will take what is ready. The rest that remains will be tended. I keep the voice near as the night widens its quiet and the pages wait until morning. The lamp is low. The book rests open on my knees. I speak in a voice that does not hurry. Tonight, I take a line that has kept people calm for ages and speak it in plain breath. The line says that a certain peace moves in a way our minds do not always track. It is quieter and wider than thought. It keeps watch without needing explanations. I do not quote the text exactly. I say its sense. The peace it names goes beyond the neat fit of reason. It is not solved by cleverness. It is felt more than it is past. Imagine a wide lake at dawn. The whisper of wind cannot explain the depth of the water. It does not need to. The lake holds what rests upon it and keeps its own quiet. This peace is described as guarding both heart and mind. Think of a small room with a steady door and a watchful latch. The latch does not slam the door. It simply keeps it from swinging open. Inside the room, the chest has room to breathe. The thoughts are not forced away. They are simply not allowed to run the whole house. I read slowly, so the meaning can sit. Each sentence has space after it. The pauses are part of the reading. They let the mind test the feel of the words without arguing with them. Tonight, the claim about peace is not an argument. It is an offered picture. The picture is meant to quiet the rush. Picture a gardener who stands by a tired bed. The gardener does not pull every weed in one breath. They bend and clear one small patch. Peace often arrives in that measured care. It does not fix all at once. It makes the nearest soil soft enough to plant hope again. You may have a thought tonight that feels too bright to dim. Hold it for a moment. Let it be a small stone in the palm. Name it in the mind with one brief word: anxiety, regret, fear. Keep the name short. Then imagine placing the stone on a low table beside the bed. This act is not dismissal. It is an honest handoff. The peace that surpasses understanding is like a slow guard who takes the stone and sets it in a safe place. When I speak of guard, do not picture a hard helmet. Picture a warm shawl folded at the edge of the bed. It wraps rather than binds. It keeps the chest from shivering. It is steady because it does not have to prove itself. It is steady because presence is enough work sometimes. The phrase surpasses understanding can unsettle. The mind often wants to translate every comfort into a reason. Tonight, let the mind rest from that work. Notice how the body responds when the rush to explain stops. The shoulders may soften. The breath may lengthen. A small easing often comes when the head is not asked to be the only tool. I ask for a short practice now. Breathe in slowly for 4 counts. Hold the breath very gently. Breathe out for 6 counts. On the in-breath, say the single word near in the mind. On the out-breath, name one thing to leave for the night. Do this 3 times. The breath is a bridge. It moves the care from the thinking head into the wider field of the body. Imagine a steady light at the edge of the room. It does not blaze. It keeps a soft band of warmth. That light is like the peace I am describing. It does not force all thought into agreement. It simply steadies the space where thought and feeling meet. When a worry pushes forward, bring it to that band of light and let it glow there without demanding the whole night. I have watched people practice this for many small nights. Some find immediate calm. Others notice tiny changes over weeks. The proof is not dramatic. The proof is a morning where the chest does not bruise on first movement. The proof is a small act in the day done without the old knot tightening. These are quiet signs of the guarding peace at work. Mercy appears in the same small ways. It looks like a neighbor who brings bread. It looks like a voice that reads without insisting on answers. It looks like a hand that takes a small stone and places it in gentler palms. Mercy and peace travel together. One opens the hands. The other keeps watch. If doubt speaks now, listen to its claim without letting it make the rules. Doubt often tries to keep the mind busy to avoid feeling. Give it a soft task. Ask it to watch the breath along with you. Ask it to name one small thing that went well today. Keep the task short. The mind learns rhythms by practice, not by scolding. There is a tenderness in the promise that peace will guard both heart and mind. It does not mean troubles vanish. It means the way trouble enters the night changes. The ache is no longer a storm that insists on being the only weather. It becomes one weather among many. Held in a larger season, I steer clear of heavy argument about why this peace comes. Tonight, The aim is not theology. It is repair. It is the slow sewing of a hem that will keep the chill from slipping through. The words I read are not tools for debate. They are warm covers for the worn places of the self. Try a small visualization if that helps. Picture your heart as a small room with a window. The wind may press at the glass. The guard of peace stands just inside the window. Hand on the sill, the guard does not demand that the wind stop. It simply keeps the window from flying open. The room stays steadier for the night. If forgiveness is part of what keeps you awake, put that worry alongside one you can name easily. Offer both into the same guarded room. Let the guard arrange them without needing to explain how. Often the act of placing weight into secure space is the beginning of the actual letting go. I will read a short paraphrase from the letters now. It says that peace which is not measured by understanding keeps watch. It guards the heart and the mind with a quiet care that does not flinch at questions. Hear this not as a command, but as an invitation. It draws a line around the small room and says, "For tonight, you may rest here." After the reading, sit with the silence for 3 long breaths. Let the words be like a lamp left on it. Do not rush to solve the problems that live in the dark. Let them be visited by the guard. That faithfulness is practical. It makes space for sleep. If sleep comes, let it arrive without a parade. If wakefulness returns, the guard will still be patient. The peace that surpasses understanding is not a one-time event. It is a steady presence that returns. It keeps company with the ear that starts wakes and the chest that tightens at dawn. Before I close this part, offer one small thing to the watchful peace. Do not choose everything. Pick one item you can name simply. Give it a breath, a word, a gentle gesture of placing it in safe hands. Then rest the body into the pillow or the chair. Let the room keep that gift for the night. I stay a moment longer with the lamp, the book, the hush. The voice remains slow. The promise of guarded peace remains close. The ending of this part is an invitation to rest into a care that does not require full understanding. It asks only that one small burden be handed over and kept while sleep comes. When you are ready, place the thing down. Breathe. Let the guard do its work. I will read again soon. The lamp is low. The book rests in my hands. I sit slow and steady. Tonight I settle near a small line of the letters that asks for simple habits, joy that lingers, prayer that threads the day, and thanks even when the night holds unease. I do not speak big arguments. I speak small practices. I speak from a place that reads at bedside and wants rest to come. I place the thought plainly. Rejoice in small things. Pray in little breath. Give thanks in the dark. The instruction is brief. It is not a demand for cheerfulness. It is an invitation to a steady work. It asks the heart to find a rhythm that will not be broken by restlessness. I begin with the breath. Breathe in slowly. Hold a small beat. Breathe out long and soft. On the in-breath, hold a single word in the mind. Call it simply thank you. Let the word be a light seed. On the out-breath, let go of one tight thing. Let the shoulder fall a fraction. Repeat this pattern quietly 3 or 4 times. The breath becomes a prayer that does not require eloquence. It becomes a thread that ties waking moments to the small night. I keep a pebble near the lamp. The pebble is ordinary and warm. I used it earlier for setting down worries. Tonight I use it again. But in a new way. I place the pebble in my palm. I name one small gift in the day. It might be a cup of tea, a safe walk, a kind look from someone whose name I do not repeat. I say the gift silently. I set the pebble down. The motion is tiny. The gratitude stays like a coin on the table. Doing this each night teaches the hands how to be thankful without needing a long list. Prayer that does not end is often misunderstood. I do not mean the mouth must keep talking. I mean the heart keeps a soft attention. A phrase well used by old readers fits here, a short, steady phrase that returns with the inhale. I choose something like this in my mind. Thank you for being near. I do not polish it. I do not demand feelings to follow. I plant the phrase like a small lamp at the edge of thought. When anxiety nudges my attention, the phrase comes back, not as a reproach, but as a gentle companion. I have found it useful to pair a worry with a thank you. The bowl of worries sits still on the table. When a heavy worry arrives, I imagine placing it in the bowl. Then I take a small slip of paper, or simply a thought, and write one tiny gratitude to put beside it. The pair sits together. In that pairing, the worry is not denied. It is witnessed. The gratitude does not erase it. It simply sits beside it and softens the room. Overnight, the collection of paired stones shifts the shape of the dark. Prayer without ceasing is less a treadmill and more a thread. I keep one fine thread of speech that moves through my hours. It is a short sentence in the head. It can be as plain as a candle kept near a window. When the mind drifts into plotting or replaying, the thread returns and reminds me to breathe and to place one thing into kinder hands. The practice trains the ear to expect mercy, not spectacle. Gratitude has a particular tone at night. It is quieter than daytime thanks. It does not trumpet success. It notices small mercies. A mattress that did not sag. A friendly word that was neither forced nor required. A streetlight steady through rain. The night rewards small noticing. It allows those things to gather into a soft warmth that helps the body let go. I sometimes guide myself through a short inventory before sleep. I name 3 small things I saw today that were kind. I name one thing that went wrong, that I do not have to solve now. Then I say a single short prayer. Thank you for what held. The inventory is brief. It does not become a performance. It is a steady practice, like wetting a cloth to soothe a fever. The habit itself changes the chest. There are nights when the list of thanks feels thin. That is all right. The practice is patient. On such nights, I look for a single small constant. The lamp by the bed, the steady roof above the head, the breath that continues even when the mind feels stormy. I speak gratitude for that constant. The naming is small. It is sufficient. I remember a time when rest would not come for a long while. The mind circled old failures. The heart tightened. I tried a prayer that was hardly a prayer. I sat with the pebble and named a single neighbor who had shown kindness in a small way. The name felt thin. Still. I placed the pebble down and breathed a thanks. That night's sleep came in small patches. The patches were not perfect. They were merciful. The practice did not fix everything. It changed how the night held me. That small change mattered in ways I did not expect. Thankfulness is not a ladder out of sorrow. It is a hand that hangs near the lamp. It does not tell the darkness to leave. It keeps the shoulder warm while the dark is there. When we anchor thanks in the presence of God, the act is less about winning and more about returning to a steady neighbor. The presence is not an idea in argument. It is steady care that accepts what is given each night. I keep a very short habit of sending a blessing in the head for 2 people before sleep. The blessing does not require long words. It is a breath-long wish. Be safe. Be warmed. Be given rest. I do this without pushing myself to mend any broken bond. The motion is a small loosening of the heart. It allows me to sleep without hoarding grievances, as if they might be useful in the morning. Prayer can be plain and practical here. It can ask for a night's rest. It can ask for courage for the next day's small tasks. It can be a whisper that all that is heavy may be held one more night. The content is not doctrinal. It is honest. It is like handing a parcel to a friend who carries things without making a spectacle. That handing is itself a kind of worship. It places trust where work alone cannot. I often say a short line of thanks as a final act before the eyelids close, not a long meditation. One sentence. It can be as narrow as thank you for this breath, or as wide as thank you for holding me through the hard parts. The sentence is a soft seal on the day. It does not demand immediate feeling. It sets a posture. When restlessness returns in the night, I return to the pebble exercise. I pick up the stone. I think of one small thanks and set it down again. The repetition is small medicine. The pebble is tactile proof that gratitude is a habit that can be practiced even when the mind protests. Sometimes prayer and thanks arrive in a sigh. I have learned not to underestimate the sigh. It is a body's prayer. When words are scarce, I treat the sigh kindly. I let it be a release. I image it landing in gentle hands that do not tally it. The hands keep standing watch. The presence I speak of is near. It does not show up as fireworks. It shows up as steady things, a lamp, an opened book, a hand that reads slowly before sleep. In my reading, I aim to remind the heart that thanks is a posture more than a performance. Its power is not proof but practice. It shapes nights by the small acts repeated. If there is a temptation to measure thanks by intensity, resist it. Small, steady gratitude is faithful. A brief phrase, repeated nightly, does more than a single dramatic prayer. The night rewards consistency. It learns trust from tiny acts, more than from grand demonstrations. I close this part with a small practice. Place one hand on the chest. Feel the steady rise and fall. Name one small gift aloud in the mind and say a brief thanks. Breathe in the presence. Breathe out a worry. Let the lamp hold the room. Let the book stay warm in the lap. The pebble sits on the table beside the bowl of worries, bearing a small coin of gratitude. I will read a short line from the letters now, not to press the mind, but to keep the tone steady. The lines I choose say, in simple feeling, rejoice when you can, pray in the small breaths, and give thanks even when the night is rough. These are acts that keep the heart company. They do not insist on quick resolution. They promise presence. Rest into that presence. Let thanks be a soft habit. Let prayer be a slow thread. Let the hand that reads keep watch until sleep arrives. The ending of this part is a gentle invitation. Keep one small thanks with the breath tonight. Let it rest beside the book. I remain here a little while longer, steady and slow, until the room quiets and the night does its quiet work. The lamp is low. The book is ready. My voice stays slow. I speak now of a real person I have known. I tell this plainly because the memory steadies me. It may steady you too. I meet her on quiet nights. She lives a few streets away. Her apartment is small and tidy. A single plant leans toward the window. Some evenings, her steps are light. Other evenings they are heavy. She carries a long workday in the bones and a long ache in the heart. Sometimes the ache names a loss. Sometimes it is a long season of small fears. She does not need a speech. She needs a way to lay the burden down. She begins with a small habit. Each night, she opens the Bible to a page near the middle. She does not read far. She reads a few lines and keeps her finger on the margin. She does not look for answers. She listens for steadiness. I watch this happen. I read with her sometimes. The voice I bring is slow and steady. The passage we choose is short and plain. We read it the same way we might trace our way back along a path we already know. The familiarity matters. It is not that the words change everything. They do not promise instant rescue. They do something quieter. They remind her, and me, that mercy is not a one-time event. It shows again and again. She tells me. Later, what changes? The nights do not suddenly turn perfect. Sleep does not come at once, but a pattern forms. After a few weeks, she notices that the first hour after lights go down is not the same. Anxiety still comes, like rain on old glass. It does not last as long. The chest loosens where it used to clamp shut. Small pauses appear between the worst thoughts. Those pauses lengthen with time. The presence of a faithful voice and of patient words becomes a companion to the dark. Faithfulness is the word she uses, not as a doctrine. As a description, she means this: the same gentle care returns. The same small mercy comes back in a morning, or in a neighbor's quiet kindness, or in the bread that warmed in the oven. The Bible lines she reads do not argue with each trouble. They simply hold a space that says, again and again, you are kept. She keeps little marks in her book, a folded corner here, a soft crease there. One page has a pressed leaf from a walk last autumn. These quiet tokens are not showy. They are reminders. When worry presses at night, she turns to the marked page and lets the familiar tone sink in. The habit trains the hands as well as the heart. The body comes to expect a certain rhythm, a lamp, a page, a slow reading, and then a breath that eases out. Some nights she prays without a long script, A short sentence will do. She says it inwardly hold this. Please, that is not complicated. It is not polished. It is an honest handing over of one small thing. The practice is not about eloquence. It is about a repeated movement of trust. The phrase becomes the knot that ties the day to the night. It does not erase the day's troubles. It simply keeps them from being carried all night. I have watched a subtle courage grow in her. One morning she says she woke to find the tightness in her chest had gone. It was not gone because the problem had vanished. It was gone because she had been allowed to set it down overnight. The night had kept what she could not hold. That relief is not dramatic. It is quiet and practical. It shows, in small ways, patient answers to old triggers. A willingness to sit with friends. Less hurry in the hands. God's faithfulness. In her telling, is like a light that refuses to burn out. It is not loud. It is steady in times when plans fall apart. The steady lamp is not a reason. It is a presence. She remembers meals taken, and one neighbor who left a note, and the day a small check arrived at the right time. These are not miracles in the dramatic sense. They are tiny proofs of a care that keeps returning. The practice of reading brings those proofs into sharper view. She learns to expect mercy in small measures. Once, a month of bad news came at once. Job worries. A friend's illness. A car that would not start. The night before she had read only a short passage. She had said her simple sentence and gone to sleep in fits. When morning came, things were not solved. But she noticed how she could breathe in the day. She could make choices with less panic. That steadier pacing, she says, felt like a hidden store of grace. Faithfulness, she learned, is not always loud assistance. Often, it looks like steadiness enough to act clearly. There is a practical habit I have seen many keep. She writes one small sentence in a tiny notebook by the bed. It is often one line I noticed light today, or I was given help. Sometimes it is a brief asking help with tomorrow. The note is not a sermon. It is a sketch. In the morning she looks at the sentence. It reminds her that the night's reading was not an escape, but a way to notice what persisted at dawn. When she is afraid the night will be long, she will take 3 slow breaths and return to one line in the book. She keeps a phrase in the head like a pebble in her pocket. It is not repeated loudly. It sits quiet. That phrase becomes a companion through wakefulness. If she wakes at 3 a.m., the phrase is a map she can follow back to the soft light of faithfulness. Sometimes the comfort is physical. She keeps a thin shawl near the lamp. The touch of the shawl on the shoulders is a habit of mercy. It is small, practical, and it reminds the body it is safe enough to loosen. Sometimes the hand that smooths the shawl is her own. Sometimes it is an old friend's. The point is not the shawl. It is the repeated, embodied act that models faithfulness in a tangible way. I am careful in what I read with her. I choose lines that do not require long debate. I choose words that sit comfortably on the ear. The Bible we use is not a tool for proving. It is a friend speaking slow. The voice I bring is steady, because steadiness is the main need at bedtime. There is no hurry to correct the world. There is an urgency to make the night a place where the heart can be quieter. She tells me something I keep remembering. The readings did not always answer the big question. She still sometimes wondered about fairness. She still sometimes grieved deeply. Yet the pattern of reading made those things less likely to rule the night. The presence of God, she says, is like a neighbor who keeps coming to the porch with quiet food. The neighbor does not lecture about why the family is hungry. The neighbor simply brings steady bread. Over time, the kindness becomes a certainty. That steadiness opens something else. She found herself more able to keep a thin hope alive. Hope, in her case, was not optimism. It was a small, persistent expectation that care would continue. She could plan a tiny step for the morning without feeling the entire weight of the week pressing on it. The practice of nightly reading trained her to expect mercy. Not once, but often. One winter she faced a deeper sorrow. A close friend died. The nights after were dense with grief. The old habits helped not by removing the grief, but by giving it a place to be. The readings were like a lamp set near the bed of a sick person. They did not make the illness vanish. They kept the room from being dark in a way that made despair louder. She slept some nights in short fragments. She woke with a slower breath. Gradually, the pattern mattered. Moans passed. The ache in the chest did not evaporate, but the rhythm of reading, of a short prayer, of a single note in the morning, built a scaffolding. She could move without carrying every shade of the past. She could be present to small joys. I have seen that presence come in a laugh that surprised her, in a kindness returned, in an ordinary cup of tea that tasted like enough. What I tell you is not a formula. It does not promise that the world will bend to our wishes if we read before bed. It promises something quieter. The faithful presence of God travels through small acts. Repeated reading makes the presence recognizable, or what seem. The faithful hand feels like a neighbor who will come every night. The knowledge of this neighbor changes how the hands hold the day. If you wish to try what she did, begin small. Choose one short passage. Read it slowly. Let your finger follow the words. Say a single short sentence in the mind. Hold this. Place a thin note by the bedside. Keep a small object that reminds you of the practice. Do not demand immediate change. Let the habit do its steady work. Tonight I will read a short line with you. I will not promise miracles. I will promise steadiness. I will read so your heart may practice being heard. If sleep comes, let it take the steady words as company. If wakefulness follows, keep the phrase in the head as a map. God's faithfulness is not a sudden lightning. It is a slow, sure continuing. I close this part with a quiet invitation. Choose one small thing to hand over tonight. A single worry, a thin hope, a short sorrow. Lay it down in the mind. Let the Bible's words be the company that stays near. I will keep reading in this gentle tone. The room is steady. The lamp is low. Rest, when it comes, will be practical and patient. The night will hold what it has been given until morning opens the room again. The lamp is still low. The book rests where a hand can find it. I sit slow and steady. My voice moves like a small tide. Tonight I draw the room into a particular picture. It is short and sure. It asks for a gentle leaning. There is a short line in the Psalms I often return to. It pictures a house of mercy. It calls the quiet shelter where one may rest. I do not recite it as proof. I offer it as an image you can carry into the dark. Imagine a small house with a wide eave. The eave keeps rain away from the face. It makes a dry ring on the path. The house is not very large, but it is solid. The doorway opens easily. You can step inside without ceremony. The air there is calmer. The walls absorb the weather and let little of it through as I speak. See that house near the bed? Let it sit just beyond the lamp circle. It is not a distant castle. It is a close shelter. Think of entering it now. Walk slowly to the threshold. Feel the boards beneath the feet. The act is simple. It is not a grand vow. It is a movement. When you step under the eave, notice the shift. The noise from the street is quieter. The sharp edges of the day soften. The mind does not have to answer every call at once. Inside the shelter, there is an allowance to breathe. I know that shelter can sound like a word from old maps. It can be abstract. For tonight, make it concrete. Imagine a roof like an outstretched arm. Imagine the arm steady, not grasping. It holds a space large enough for the small things and for the heavy ones too. Let this image be practical. It is a place to set down a pack without shame. If you keep the pebble on the bedside table, pick it up now. Feel its ordinary weight. Let it symbolize what you have carried most off late. It may be a worry about health, a sharp regret, a fear about tomorrow. Put the pebble in your hand gently. Do not hurry this. The movement matters. I read that the psalm speaks of a near watchfulness. It says one may dwell in that shelter. To dwell is not simply to visit. It is to be allowed to stay. The allowance does not depend on how tidy the hands are. It is not a reward for perfect living. It is an invitation to rest where care already waits. Bring the pebble to the doorway of the shelter in your mind. Lay it on the wooden sill. Watch a pair of steady hands take it. The hands are neither weak nor abrupt. They are the hands of someone who knows the small weight of days. You do not have to explain the pebble's edges. The hands accept it as it is. When the pebble leaves your fingers, notice how the shoulders respond. Sometimes the change is slight. Sometimes the chest loosens a degree. These are real movements. They do not promise that trouble vanishes. They promise that some weight is no longer carried alone for the night. If saying a short sentence in the mind helps, try this here. Take this for now. Say it once. Keep it simple. There is no need to perform. The sentence is an act. Nota de bate. It is the small work of handing over. I invite a slow breath now. Breathe in 4 counts. Hold very briefly. Exhale 6 counts. On the in-breath, picture the shelter's roof above the shoulders. Feel its shadow land like a soft cloth across the back. On the out-breath, let a tight place soften. Repeat 3 times. The breath is a bridge between the body and the image. It carries trust one small step at a time. Picture a watchful presence near the doorway. The presence is not harsh or domineering. It is steady. Its gaze is kind. The shelter bearer moves without fuss. There is a sense of safety that does not demand perfect answers. The presence does not require you to prove anything. It accepts the day as it is and keeps company with the night. If the word Lord is familiar and bears weight for you, let it rest like a name spoken quietly at the edge of the breath. If the name feels empty or sharp, use another image lamp. Mental, steady hand. The point is not language. It is the simple experience of resting under care. I often tell a short exercise here. Imagine the shelter has a small window that looks toward the morning. Through that window, a soft light always shows a map of the next day. Not in full detail, but enough to see a way forward. When the night presses fear about tomorrow, look through that window instead of replaying worst possibilities. The small light calms the imagining. It does not remove planning. It simply makes planning gentler. Protection in the psalm is pictured not only as a roof, but as a shadow. Shadows do not smother. They make places cooler in the heat. The shadow keeps sharpness from burning the skin. Allow the shadow to be a protective edge. Let it hold the small things that often feel like threats when imagined in the dark. If surrender feels too absolute, rest with this surrender is rarely a single great act. It is a series of little placements. One pebble here, one worry set on the sill, one short breath that asks for rest. The shelter accepts each offering. Trust grows in the habit of handing over, not in the drama of a single perfect choice. There is a tenderness in this shelter that is practical. It cares for the body as well as the mind. Imagine a thin blanket folded on a chair inside. Imagine a cup of warm tea waiting on a low table. These small comforts are part of the protection. They remind the nervous system that the world is not all sharp edges tonight. If fear presses as images in the head, watch them like leaves on a slow stream. Place each leaf gently on the surface and let the current carry it past the shelter's eave. Do not chase. Do not tally them. The shelter's watchfulness is not thrown off by passing pictures. It holds what is given without being surprised. For those who find it helpful, place the palm on the chest now. Feel the rise and fall. Speak a brief phrase in the head. As you breathe in, I am held. Breathe out and release a single tight thing. Keep the phrase small. Repeat it when the mind wanders. The small phrase becomes an anchor inside the shelter. Protection is not promised as a guarantee against every harm. The Psalm's language does not erase difficulty. It names refuge for moments when danger feels near. The promise is that a steady care keeps watch. It stands like a guardian at the edge of the room. That guardianship does not remove storms. It changes how storms enter the night. In my reading, I choose words that are quiet and clear. I avoid boasting about safety. I offer the image so the mind can test it gently. If resistance comes, if the idea of being sheltered feels foreign or suspect, notice that resistance with curiosity. Ask it what it needs to feel safer. Sometimes the answer is small, a memory of a single kindness. A night a neighbor brought bread. A morning when a light felt warm. Use that memory as proof that these hands do indeed come. If you are someone who doubts the idea of protection because of past betrayals, use a small boundary. Imagine the shelter has a soft fence. The fence keeps safe distance, while the hands still receive what you lay down. Boundaries and surrender can live together. The shelter does not force closeness. It offers a regulated nearness that keeps the heart intact. I do not press theology in the night. My aim is mercy and comfort. The Psalm's image is a tool for that aim. It invites the weary to step under care. It calls the tired to sleep, while someone kind watches. Those are practical things. They matter for the body and the heart. If you wake in the night, return to the shelter in the mind. Walk the boards again. Set the pebble back on the sill if it came. Feel the hands take it. Repeat the short breath. The habit is a gentle route back to rest. It does not require large words. It asks only for a patient movement. Before I close, I offer a small encouragement. You may not feel instantly covered by the shelter. That is all right. The picture works slowly. It asks for small acts of trust, not brave leaps. The practice of stepping toward the doorway and laying down one piece of burden each night teaches the muscles of surrender. Over team. The shelter moves from a thought into a felt place. I will read a few lines now, in a slow voice, to keep the shelter present in the room. Let the words be like a lamp set on the table. Listen with the chest more than the head. Allow the image of the roof and the steady hands to remain as you breathe. Rest into the shelter. Let the mind practice laying one small thing down. The night keeps watch. The hands that accept do not tally faults. They hold the pebble and the small regrets alike. Mercy sits at the threshold and keeps a steady flame. Sleep can come into that flame and be tended until morning. When you are ready, fold your hands where they rest easiest. Place the pebble on the bedside table if you used it. Breathe once long and slow. Let the shelter's shadow settle over the shoulders. I stay a little while to read. The lamp is low. The book waits. The shelter is near. Rest for now. Shawu. Inviting dreams of renewal. The lamp throws a warm circle. The book rests where the hand can find it. I speak slowly now. The room leans in. The night is a soft field, ready for seeds. Breathe. In for 4 counts. Hold a breath like a quiet note. Exhale long for 6 counts. Let the breath be the bridge into dreams. The breathing is a small promise. It tells the body the night will not be rushed. Imagine a doorway in the dark. It is low and welcoming. Beyond it lies a garden, lit by the same steady lamp we have kept here. The garden is not a place of sudden miracles. It is ordinary soil and quiet plants. Stillness tends them. Suduschaimi. That is how renewal often works. Choose one small image to carry into sleep. It may be a river moving slow. It may be a single leaf turning gold. It may be a hand that holds a cup of warm tea. Keep the picture simple enough to hold with half-closed eyes. Do not force it to explain anything. Let it be a soft guide. I invite you to ask God for gentle dreams. Say it quietly in the mind, not as a test, but as a request. Speak a short line, led my night. Mend my sleep. Let the request be brief and true. The voice at the bedside hears such things without needing explanation. Picture the dreams arriving like small birds. They alight on the windowsill. They do not shout. They bring tiny seeds. Each seed is a mending, an ease in the chest, a softer memory. A clear step for tomorrow. The birds do not carry all answers. They bring enough light to warm an aching place. If fear presses when the room is quiet, hold it gently. Give it a name and place it on the bedside table like the pebble we have used before. Then picture Christ's hand steady and familiar taking the pebble. The act is small. It is not a grand undoing. It is an exchange. The hand welcomes what is offered and keeps watch through the dark. Ask for dreams that restore, not erase. Request images that stitch tired edges. Pray for scenes that give rest to the mind as much as to the body. Perhaps a shore where the waves return at a steady pace. Perhaps a road with a lamplight every few steps. Dreams guided this way feel like a slow repair. Let go of the list for a few breaths. Tomorrow has its place. Tonight, the task is softer. Place one loose worry into a small mental box and set it by the door of the shelter. Promise to look at it in daylight. The promise keeps the mind from rehearsing the problem all night. Imagine waking within a dream that teaches a small mercy. Maybe a memory changes shape. Maybe a regret shrinks to a useful lesson. These dreams do not demand perfection. They offer gentleness. When morning comes, they may leave a trace, a steadier breath, an easier step, a lighter hand. If tears come in the night, let them be tears that clear. If laughter surprises you, receive it like sunlight through a curtain. Both are allowed. Dreams can be kind in many forms. They may be quiet scenes of ordinary grace. They may be small dialogues that settle something inside without fanfare. I read from the Bible often at bedside. The words I choose tonight are not long. They do not argue. They bear a tone that leans toward restoration. Hear them as you let your images take root. Let the cadence of the reading become a rhythm that carries you across the threshold into sleep. Hold a final image between two breaths. See a lamp in the garden, steady and small. Let the lamp's light touch the places you wish to be mended. Breathe in that light. Breathe out the last tightness. Let the garden and its lamp be the company of your dreams. Promise yourself no performance. Sleep is not an achievement to earn tonight. It is a place you are invited into. Accept the invitation. Let God guide the night's journey. Trust that small, quiet dreams can do the work that loud thinking cannot. Rest your hand where it feels easiest. Keep the pebble, or set it down. Keep the book close. Let the breath slow. Allow the gentle pictures to rise as the eyes grow heavy. I stay with a voice that reads. My reading will be a soft path for the mind, not a course to complete. When sleep comes, let it sleep you slowly. When wakefulness returns, the images will be ready again. The shelter we have shared will still be near. Trust the small work of dreams. They often reassemble what the day loosened. Shalom. Closing prayer for peace. I bow my head with you now. I speak simply and slowly. The prayer is short. Let it sit like a hand on the shoulder. Lord, steady presence. You who keep watch while the world turns, be near tonight. Meet the tired where they are. Take the heavy hands and let them rest. Hold the anxious thoughts with a calm that does not shame them. Receive the small offerings we lay down a pebble, a prayer, a thin hope. Pour a quiet into the chest. Let it be a soft warmth that settles the bones. Guide the night's dreams toward healing and gentle work. Bring images that mend rather than press. Bring scenes that teach kindness to the heart. Keep watch beside those who wake in fear. Turn their waking into a road with lamplight at even intervals. Forgive the harsh words we still frame in memory. Forgive the small cruelties we perform in tiredness. Teach us to be kinder to ourselves by night as by day. If regret presses, make a small space where repair can begin in daylight. Bless the bodies that are worn. Restore sleep that has grown thin from long worry. Let muscles relax. Let breath unburden. Let tearful places be tended as one tends a garden. If healing takes time, grant patience that will not despair. If sorrow remains, give a companionable mercy that does not vanish when dawn arrives. Protect those who are alone. Be a steady neighbor on the threshold of the dark. Keep safe the houses, the streets, the beds where small children sleep. Guard the hearts that wait for news. Let the waiting not crush them, but teach endurance. Fill the morning with a thin hope that is practical and steady. Give strength for the small tasks that matter most tomorrow. Teach us to carry less and rest more often. Help us to return to mercy with hands unclenched and eyes soft. I do not ask for grand signs tonight. I ask for steady care. I ask for the patient presence that shows up again and again. Help us trust the small acts of mercy. You give a neighbor's kindness, a lamp that burns, a hand that reads, a book that waits. Hold us until morning opens the door. When we wake, let us remember one small gift from the night. Let that gift be enough to begin with one easier breath, one kinder thought, one small courage. Thank you for staying with what we place in your care. Thank you for accepting our quiet, imperfect trust. Amen. I close the book softly now. The lamp is low. The pages sit warm. Rest into the quiet that follows. If the eyes stay open, keep the slow breath and the small image by the bedside. I remain a while in the hush, a steady voice at the edge of sleep, until the night does its gentle work and morning wakes the room again. The lamp remains low, the page rests warm. I breathe with you a few slow times more. The house exhales with us. The hush is wide enough to hold small things. I fold the cover gently and let the book lie open a moment. The edges of the pages catch the lamp's glow. The light is simple. It does not demand anything from the dark. It keeps a place to look at. I speak now a quiet prayer. The words are small. They ask for sleep that heals. They ask for ease where the night has been heavy. They are not a long argument. They are a hand laid on a shoulder. Lord, steady in the dark. Hear the tired. Walk near the ones who cannot quiet their minds. Untangle their restless threads. Let sleep come without hurry. Take the weight that cannot rest tonight. Give a pause to the racing heart. Let the body forget the day's sharp corners for a while. I picture many kinds of tired. Some are old and slow. Some are new and raw. Some hid under polite faces. Some make a person wake at odd hours. The prayer meets them all without sorting. It says, simply be held. Bless the ones who wake with fear. Turn their waking into a path with small lamps at intervals. Keep each step obvious enough to trust. If news waits at the morning, give enough rest to meet it. If the morning brings errands and small tasks, stoke a thin courage for them. Let hands that ache lay down their lists. Let shoulders release the shoulders' ache. Soften the jaw that grits at midnight. Ease the stomach that tightens with worry. If tears come, let them be gentle and clearing. If laughter slips through when sleep is thin, let it be a bright medicine. Bring mercy to memories that replay like stubborn birds. Allow them a place to land and then a way to fly off. If regret knocks at the window, give it a seat at the table of tomorrow. Do not let it camp on the pillow beside them tonight. Comfort the ones who carry illness, where pain presses. Give rest that relieves a little, where treatment drags. Grant patience that will not break. For those whose sleep is watchful because of pain, send small mercies between the hours. For those who care for someone through the night, pour strength into their bones and a clear calm into their breaths. Hold close the lonely. Be a neighbor who does not speak too loudly, but whose presence is steady. Let them feel company even when the room is empty. Let morning bring a light small enough to reach them. Shelter children who stir and call in the night. Let their small bodies find warmth and calm. Bless the parents who rise. Give them a pause when they return to bed. Let the household breathe easier. Bless the ones waiting for news. Stretch your watch over them. Ease the sharpness of the hours. Give them a small, steady hope. Make the stretch of waiting a little less like a cliff. Make it more like a bench they can sit on until the light changes. For those who have lost, keep companionable care near. Let nightmares give way to memories that settle kindly. Let the ache be tended rather than rushed into cheer. A broken thing does not mend in a night. Give patience and small reprieves. Fill the room with slow kindness. Let the breath become a metronome for calm. Let muscles remember how to uncoil. Let thoughts find the soft places between syllables. Teach the head a softer grammar for the night. I ask that the gift of rest be practical, not a dramatic deliverance, not a sudden end to pain. A small easing will do, a longer exhale, a slower heartbeat, a morning that comes with a single small courage. These are the mercies that stack up into healing. Be present in the gaps between thoughts. Sit in the silence, not as absence, but as company. Let that company feel like a lamp set on a sill, steady and reliable. It need not blaze. It only needs to be there when the chest tightens. Guide dreams toward repair. Send images that mend rather than fret. Give scenes that stitch frayed edges. Let dreams be soft teachers instead of harsh rehearsals. If a mind needs to practice kindness, let the dream show a small act done well. If a heart needs to forgive, let a gentle image open a tiny door. I do not ask for grand tokens. I ask for steady care. Show mercy in the small things, a neighbor's casserole left at a door, a text that reads, "I am here," a light left on for an hour longer. These small kindnesses keep the human edge from dulling entirely, protect the streets and the houses, keep safe those who travel now, watch over the ones who must work through the night, grant them clear decisions and soft returns, guard the quiet towns and the restless cities alike. Teach the one who holds guilt to let it down in small measures. It does not have to be offered all at once. Place one piece on the table tonight. Promise another chapter in daylight. The habit of handing over is itself a healing act. Where hope feels thin. Presse molle. Steady measure. Make hope patient rather than frantic. Let it be enough to rise in the morning. Give the one who is despairing a single thing to expect: a cup of tea, a line of work that is not heavy, a neighbor's small favor. These thin hopes rebuild a day. Forgive the lips that speak harshly at the end of a long day. Teach gentleness to the ones who lash first when they are tired. Bring understanding to the ones who could not bear another strain. Do not ask for a sudden contrition. Offer a path to repair in small steps. For those wrestling with doubt, give a quiet clarity. Do not overwhelm the doubter with arguments. Meet the doubt with patient presence. Show that questions do not disqualify a person from care. They often make the need for mercy clearer. Bless the books that keep us company. Bless the hands that turn their pages slowly. If the verses read tonight are familiar, let them be a soft cord tied to the heart. If they are new, let them find an easy place in the mind. I speak too for myself in this prayer. It is the same request. Geb mi voice steady. Let my reading be gentle and clear. Give me the patience to stay slow. Grant that my presence here becomes a small comfort rather than a performance. Let the words I read be a lamp, not a fetter. I prepare a short silence now. The silence is part of the prayer. In that silence, I leave room for the ones I have named. Feel the quiet spread like a soft cloth over the day. Breathe with it. Pause. Now, before the last quiet folds the room, I give one blessing. May the peace that does not depend on clear answers rest like a hand on the sleeper. May the breath lengthen and the shoulders soften. May mercy be practical and near. I watch the lamp circle one last slow time. The paper of the book is warm under my palm. I slide a thin bookmark into place. The motion is small and deliberate. It says this: the words will wait. They will be here tomorrow in the same patient way. If you like, place a hand on your chest. Feel the steady rise and fall. Breathe in slowly. Hold a soft count. Breathe out and ask for one small thing, an easier breath, a kinder thought, a thin courage for the morning. Say the phrase inside the head. Do not argue with the words. Let them be simple. Now rest the hand where it feels easiest. Let the eyelids fall as they will. If sleep comes, let it come without ceremony. If wakefulness remains, keep the breath as company. Return to the shelter we shared. Use the pebble image, the small garden, the bench, whichever has been the clearest for you. Walk there in the dark if you need to. I will sit for a little while longer in the hush. The voice goes quiet now. I do not rush away. I remain near as a slow footstep on a long path. If your breathing slows, I will keep my tone less than a whisper. If you wake and need a word, the room will still hold this promise. Mercy is patient. Mercy is practical. Before I leave this stretch of night, I lay out a small, steady promise. I will read again tomorrow, or the next time the night opens, and you choose to keep this company. The pages will be the same. The lamp's circle will be the same. The invitation will remain, bring what is true and let the rest be held. Sleep now, in whatever small measure the night gives. Let the quiet do its slow work. Let rest gather like soft moss. When morning comes, look for one small gift from the night. Keep that gift like a coin in your pocket. It will buy a gentleness for the day. The lamp is low. The book is closed gently. The hush deepens. Good night. Rest in the steady care that keeps watch until dawn. I stay a moment longer in the low light. The lamp makes a soft pool on the table. The book lies where my hands can find it. I breathe with you. The room is quiet enough to hear the small things breathe back. I turn to a line I return to often. I do not say it in full. I let its sense rest in the room. The line tells of a presence that goes ahead of the road. It speaks of a steady step that meets the morning before we get there. It promises that we are not the ones who must clear every path alone. Hear this as a plain thing. Someone walks before you in the long dark. They know the stones. They know the dips. They have already felt the wind on the next hill. You do not have to be first. You only need to follow the light that shows the way. I read the idea slowly. Each phrase has room. The words I choose are soft, not sharp. They do not ask your mind for answers. They only offer a hand to hold while you move. The presence I speak of does not do showy work. It moves quietly. It makes a path even when fog rests low. This presence is close. It remains with you. It walks beside the weary paths. It does not vanish when trouble becomes loud. It is the kind of neighbor who sits with a cup of tea and does not hurry you through grief. Its company is steady. That steadiness is practical. It keeps the shoulders from tensing so that the next step is possible. You do not travel alone tonight. The idea is simple, but it changes how the feet find the ground. If your steps feel uncertain, picture a hand at the small of your back. It guides without pushing. If your mind rehearses worst routes, imagine that hand pointing to a lane you might have missed. The pointing is gentle. It does not demand that you run ahead. I ask you to breathe now. Breathe in for 4 slow counts. Let that in-breath be the sense of the presence moving before you. Hold for the smallest pause. Breathe out for 6 counts. Let the out-breath carry some of the tightness away. Do this 3 times. The breath moves the idea from head to body. That is what matter. Does an idea becomes a felt thing when the chest answers. The promise goes on, you are not forsaken. The language is not a flash of rescue. It is a slow keeping. Imagine the path you cannot see. You might be afraid of the dark there. The presence does not remove the dark altogether. It stands at the ready. It will not leave you at the worst corner. That is the small and powerful truth I read into the room. If fear comes now, name it in the mind. Give it a single short word, fear. Do not add a sentence to it. Let the word be a pebble. You place on the bedside table. Feel the pebble. Feel its weight. Then imagine the presence picking up that pebble. It takes it gently. The action is not magic. It is a practical exchange. You are not lighter because everything is done. You are lighter because one small burden is carried for a time. There is a tenderness in the promise that the presence goes ahead. It means decisions do not always require the entire map. It lets you trust one step at a time. If you cannot plan the long road, you can place your foot on the single beam the presence lights in front of you. That step is enough. I know some nights grow long. They coil and uncoil in the head. They bring questions that have no quick answer. The words I read do not pretend to answer them all. They only place a persistent companion in the same room. Having that companion is a kind of mercy. It takes the pressure off being the only solver. Try this small practice when worry presses. Name one thing you fear will happen tomorrow. Make it the pebble. Place it down. Say one brief sentence in the head, walk before me. Let the sentence be simple. Let it be a plea and a trust. Then breathe. Let the body trust the hand at the back. The release is small. It is enough for the night. The promise also says, do not be afraid. Do not read those words as an order. Read them as a friend's murmur. When someone you love is rattled, you do not force them to be brave. You stay near. You speak a low comfort. This is the kind of voice the promise brings. It does not scold. It soothes. I often picture the presence as a lamp placed ahead on a distant post. You can see a circle of light before you. It is not large. It does not fix everything by its glow, yet it keeps your next steps from disappearing into the dark. The lamp is patient. It waits while you walk. It does not glare. It invites. There will be times when you misstep, despite the light. That is part of walking. The presence does not count mistakes. It helps you stand again. Sometimes it will sweep the dust from your boots. Other times it will hand you a strap that helps steady the pack. These gestures are practical. They do the small repairs that make continuous travel possible. If shame creeps in because you stumble, place that too as a pebble. The presence takes shame with the same hands that take fear. It does not say your stumbles are fine because you deserve them. It says the work of moving is hard, and therefore you are not left to do it alone. That is mercy in plain language. I close the book for a moment and rest my palm on the page. The paper feels ordinary. The lamp keeps its warm circle. I watch the small dust motes move. The presence I speak of is not abstract doctrine. It is a neighborly care that shows in things like bread, left on a step, a hand that steadies, a voice that reads slowly in the night. These are the ways the promise becomes real. Now I move into the final words. I speak them slow so your body can answer with rest. The night has its own work to do. My job is small, to leave a clear, kind note on the bedside table of the heart. Listen to this as a close. You may not carry a clear belief yet. You may have long years of doubt. The words I offer are not an exam. They are a compass. They point toward a presence that moves first, stays near, and does not abandon if you will it. Follow the compass one step at a time. Before I leave you to the dark, do the breath again. Breathe in 4 counts. Hold. Breathe out 6 counts. On the in-breath, imagine the presence going before you into the nearest worry. On the out-breath, let the shoulder fall. Repeat twice more. Let the rhythm be a small promise. Let the chest remember that rest is allowed. If you wake in the night and the room feels too large, do not judge yourself. Return to the pebble practice. Pick up the stone in the mind. Lift it to the edge of the shelter we have pictured. Place it in the steady hand there. Say one short thing. I leave this for now. Then breathe and return to the lamp. I will read again when the night calls or when you come back. The pages will be the same. My voice will be slow and steady. I will read not to fix every trouble, but to keep company. I read because voices that stay near can make sleep kinder. For now, let the promise rest under the pillow. Let mercy do its patient work. Let the presence who goes before you keep a small light to show the way. Let that light be enough for the next step. Good night. Rest. Tender and ordinary. The lamp is low. The book is closed gently. The promise remains. You are not alone. You are not forsaken. Walk this night with that soft assurance. I remain a little while in the hush, a steady voice at the edge of sleep, until the room opens again with morning. I stay with the lamp a little longer. My hand rests on the cover. The house breathes the way it always does. The moment is simple. The voice is steady. We have walked the night slowly together. We brought one pebble at a time to the sill. We practiced a few soft breaths. We set a tiny habit of thanks beside the bowl of worries. We imagined a shelter with an eave. We asked for dreams that mend. Those acts are small, but they do a steady work. I will read one last quiet line from the pages I carry. I do not speak the words like a test. I speak them like a neighbor who points to the door and says, if you must go, go with the lamp. The passage holds the same thought in gentle language. Sleep is a gift. Rest is handed to those who do not have the strength to hold it alone. Hearing it tonight is not a demand. It is an invitation. If the thought of trust feels heavy, breathe with it. Breathe in for 4 counts. Hold for the smallest pause. Breathe out for 6. Let the ribs accept the air as if it were a kind hand at the back. The hand does not push. It only guides. The breath keeps time with that guidance. Lay one small thing on the bedside table now. It can be the pebble we used before. It can be a note folded in 2. It can be the shape of one single worry, named in a word. Place it gently. The action is a sentence the body understands. The body will remember the motion at 2 in the morning if it wakes. That is the point. These small acts teach the muscles of rest. It keeps my voice low. The reading does not try to fix the whole map. It offers a lantern for the next step. Imagine the lantern set on the garden post again. See the lamp circle on the path. It is not bright enough to show the entire road. It only lights enough to take one more step. That step is often all the night asks of us. Think of the room as a shared harbor. If you wake later, Remember that others wake too. You are in company, even in quietness. People all over the town breathe the same way. The same low prayers float in homes and apartments and rooms with single windows. That fact changes the shape of loneliness. It is not removed. It is eased by the knowledge that many others are held in the same slow net of mercy. I will speak a short blessing for the ones who cannot sleep. I will speak another for those who sleep too easily and wake with a rawness. Each blessing is brief. It is meant to be held in the mind like a coin until morning. For the sleepless, may your chest find a little more ease. May a single long exhale come that feels like a drop of balm. May a small light visit your dreams and mend the cracked places. If anxiety returns, may it be met by a patient hand that does not rush you into courage before you are ready. For the weary who sleep, may their rest be deep and renewing. May muscle and thought unknit their tight pattern. May morning bring a steady, small hope that helps the first step feel possible. For the ones who care for others through the night, may strength find the places that need it. May small mercies come between hours to refill the cup. May the watching come with a gentle end, when it is time to let go. For those who wait on news, may waiting be broken into manageable pieces. May the interval hold a thin, steady hope. May neighbors and friends find their way to speak one practical kindness at a time. For those who mourn, may a companionable quiet sit with you. May dream work tend the wound gently. May the night teach the body how to hold sorrow without being consumed by it. For families and children, may beds be warm. May small bodies trust the dark enough to sink. May the hands that tuck them in be rested by morning. For the lost and the lonely, may an unexpected kindness come like bread placed quietly at the door. May someone's voice read a small line, and the simple sound be enough to steady the evening. These blessings are not formulas. They are simple hopes offered by a steady voice. They are meant to be returned by you. Gently, if you like, say a short sentence in the head be held. Say it more than once if it helps. The repetition is not magic. It is a practice. It teaches the mind how to rest. I fold the book a little, but not closed. Its pages will be ready in the morning. The words will be patient. They do not need a hurry. They will be here again when you return. Before I leave the lamp, I ask you for one small thing. When morning wakes the room, notice one small gift from the night. It might be the ease of a single breath. It might be a clearer thought. It might be a memory that does not sting. Keep that gift like a coin in a pocket. Let it buy you one kind decision tomorrow. That is how nights change days. A tiny mercy in the dark becomes a small courage at dawn. I am the one who reads at bedside. I hold the pages and the pattern of the voice. I promise not to hurry you. I promise not to demand answers. I promise to come back when you call or when the night opens again. Those are small promises, but they are steady. Now the final blessing. I speak it slowly, so the breath may carry it into the sleep. May the God who keeps watch be your quiet companion tonight. May a steady hand take the pebble you set down. May a lamp be placed ahead on the path. May mercy sit like a shawl around your shoulders. May the night give you small repairs. May dreams stitch a little gentleness into the places that ache. May the breath you practiced find its ease. May the shoulders drop a fraction. May the heart know a releasable weight. May the morning bring one small hope to begin with. We belong to a larger company of ones who seek rest under a faithful eye. You are not alone in the dark. Others are praying in low voices. Others are breathing the same way. We form a quiet chorus that holds one another until dawn. Let that thought be a pillow for the mind. I lay my hand upon the page and imagine placing my hand briefly on yours across the room. The gesture is small. It is meant to be a seal on the moment. Receive it as a friend receives a tired traveler at the door, not with questions, but with a cloak. Good night. Then sleep in whatever small measure the night gives. Trust the slow work of rest. Wake to the small gift you find. Let it be enough. If you want, say, a short word now be held. Hold the word like a coin in the palm. Place your hand where it rests easiest. Breathe one time long and soft. Let eyelids close when they will. I will stay a breath or two longer in this hush. I will let the lamp be low and steady. When the house settles, I will step back into silence. The book will wait. The reading will wait. Mercy will watch. Good night. Be held. Amen.